Show, everybody. Larry Krueger, Ryan Smith, Dan Coccimiglio, the great Cyrus, Saatsaz from Locked On Warriors will be joining us. We may be visiting with Tyler Mills from Cron as well. Welcome to the post-game show on YouTube, the Krueg Show, as we come to you after Warrior basketball. Game one of the finals is in the books, fellas. And I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. 120-106. Boston takes game one, and now the series is so much more compelling, I think, than it would have been if the Warriors had gone up 1-0. Boston goes up 1-0. They put on a barrage in the fourth quarter. The only stat that really you need to know in this game is that Boston was 40-16 winners of the fourth quarter. 40-16 plus 26 in the fourth quarter alone.
7 of 8 from their first 8 threes in the fourth quarter.
Unbelievable. They rained it down. And on a night when they didn't have Jason Tatum, it didn't matter. I mean, I say didn't have him. He didn't play well. Tatum had a totally ordinary, forgettable game. 12 points, 5 rebounds, 13 assists, though. And if there was one thing that really jumped out in this game was, Boston's passing, I thought was incredible. But their 3-point barrage at the end of in the fourth quarter was incredible. I don't know where you start here, guys, other than, Marcus Smart was incredible in the first half. He against the Warriors, he looks like an all-star. Marcus Smart looks like an all-star every time I see him against Golden State. He looked great in the first half, I should say, and he kept him in it. And then Derek White got hot last round against Miami, and he's just continued that right on to this series.
Larry, I brought that up last stream, and I know it sounded ridiculous, the whole parallels with Fred VanVleet, who absolutely was horrible to the point where people were calling for him not to get any playing time when he was with the Raptors during their title run in the playoffs. They were having it was issues. When's the kid going to come out? Kid pops out. All of a sudden he goes on this amazing streak right in the finals. Same thing with Derek White. It sounds crazy, but I thought that Derek White was going to have a monster series. And I think it's one of those things where when a major life event, your first child, happens right before the finals, it kind of puts things into perspective, and you're not as oh my God, this is the biggest moment of my life type deal. And that's what it looked like. And it looked like everybody talks about the Warriors finals experience. Okay, Steph was unreal. Clay did
in the first quarter he was unreal. In the second quarter he didn't score.
Well, the second quarter he
barely played.
He barely played. He had 2 shots, and then
I was thinking. I think I might even mention to you guys. I would have liked to see him just keep playing for a minute or two of the second quarter. Start it because he was so hot. He had that hot hand going. A lot of times when guys get hot, they feel it and then they lose it when they sit after a while. Let him go run the offense through Steph, start the second quarter. If he misses, take him out. But, then get his 5 to 6 minutes rest, bring him back in at the 6-minute mark. But he was so hot in the first quarter. I just thought I've seen it so many times where guys have a hot hand and they just keep going. But, because Steph is in such great shape, playing 14 straight minutes is not a big deal.
It's funny you bring that up, Danny, though, because the Warriors, I thought one of the things that I made note of is they look a little winded. They looked a little winded in this game. And I don't know if all that extra off time, made them lose their wind, but they definitely look like they were gasping for air a few times tonight. Not just one guy. There were several guys. Very frustrating game because Golden State gets this great first quarter out of Steph Curry, and then Boston battled back, and Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart had tremendous first halves. Then that third quarter starts, and Draymond, there was a foul called on Draymond against Horford in that third quarter. That was a bad call. It was just great defense by Draymond. Then there was another non-call on Horford against Steph on a drive where, my goodness, if Steph Curry can't get that call at home in the finals, I mean, what can he get? He got hacked on the shooting arm. on a drive to the hole, no call there. But and then Jordan Poole struggled in this game mightily. I mean, he's been great in the previous 3 game ones. He had 30, 31, and 19 in those games, but man, he struggled in this game against Boston size, and he didn't deal well with their physicality. We saw Robert Williams pin his shot at the rim. Poole just didn't look comfortable. We saw the reemergence of Andre Iguodala, who hit a big 3-pointer at the end of the third quarter. And Golden State led this game. For those of you who might have missed this game, it was 92-80. Golden State, end of the third quarter, 92-80. They had a 12-point lead going to the fourth quarter, and then they got run off their home floor. I mean, unbelievable. Golden State won the third quarter, 38-24, and that 38-point third quarter for the Warriors against Boston's defense, I mean, that was impressive. But then all of a sudden the fourth quarter starts and Jaylen Brown hits a 3, and now the Warriors are up 7. Now Boston goes on a 9-0 run and it's 92-89. Then coming out of the timeout, Jaylen Brown hits another 3 and Golden State's leads down to 2. And then Jaylen Brown had a layup, and it's once again a 3-point game. What really I thought burned Golden State was Derek White hit that 3 to make it 101-100. Then Derek White hits another 3 to tie the game at 103-103. Then Curry missed the floater, and Horford hits an open 3 to make it 106-103. At that point, Boston had made 6 of 6 on threes. Then Horford, coming out of the timeout, makes another 3.
Right.
And suddenly, the game that Golden State had in command, they're now looking very much like they're going to lose. It's 109-103. And then so this is the part in the game where I thought this is where the game was in the balance. Boston's up 109-103, but there's still plenty of time left. Golden State needed a high percentage shot next time down. You know what they got?
Draymond Green 31-footer.
They got a Draymond Green well beyond the arc 3-point attempt, and he missed. Now, Pritchard missed on the other end, but then Curry got kind of a weird look at a 3, and he missed. So you got timeout with 3:47 left, and you still got Boston with a 6-point lead, 109-103. Then I thought the biggest play, the biggest sequence of the game, they call the timeout, and they get the ball to Tatum. Tatum finds Horford. He gets a face-up mid-range shot. And, that's like a layup for Al Horford. And sure enough, he put it down. Now, at that point in the game, that was a dagger because that made it 111-103. Golden State needs a big shot down the next time. What do they get? Draymond Green misses another 2. So it's like in their biggest moments, they're leaning on Draymond Green as their offense, not Poole, not Curry, not Thompson, not Wiggins, not Iguodala, but Draymond Green, who's not really known for his offense at all. But I mean, Boston, how do you let a team go on a 17-0 run in your backyard and you can't get a good look and your defensive stopper takes 2 of the biggest shots in that sequence? The Golden State lost their focus, guys, at the end. And I blame Kerr. Call a freaking timeout and regroup your guys. All right? They're stunned. You led by 12. Now you're down by 6. All of a sudden you're reeling. And at that point, you got to think clearly and you gotta execute in the half court, and you got to get good offensive looks, and the right guys have to shoot it. For Green to take a 3 and then a 2 right in the midst of that was, I thought, just unforgivable. And obviously it cost them. It had a huge hand in costing them the game.
Yeah, and Boston really clamped down in the fourth quarter, and it looked like they were, clamping down on everybody and go ahead and let the ball swing around to Green and let him shoot it because
hell yes, they're giving him that the whole series.
Yep. And, I'll tell you what I think, a couple things that I think the Warriors are going to need to do to adjust. One is we're going to need GP2 in this series. And he's obviously not 100%, or he would have been in there at some point. He didn't play. He was suited up. But I'm hoping by Sunday, because Poole was being pushed around on offense and he was being taken out of his style of play. and he was forcing a couple things. And on defense, he was being kind of picked on. I just really think that they're going to need some minutes out of GP2. And as I said the other night, I would like to see Steph play 40 meaningful minutes. When I say meaningful, I mean like 12 minutes of the first quarter, 8-9 minutes of the third and fourth quarters.
How about this, Danny? How about just recognize the hot hand? Boston recognized that White was the hot hand and fed him. Golden State had Otto Porter was their hot hand tonight. He took 5 shots from beyond the arc. He made 4 of them. You look at that number and you say 4 of 5 for Otto Porter. And then, so he was the hot hand. You have Steph Curry, who's one of the great shooters of all time. You have Klay Thompson, who's right there with them. And yet Green and Poole combined took more threes than Porter or Thompson. How does that happen? How do you let Draymond Green and Jordan Poole, Poole in his first finals game ever, and Draymond Green, who's not really a 3-point shooter at all at this point in his career, how do you let those guys take 9 combined threes, and your hot at hand Otto Porter takes 5 and makes 4, and your future Hall of Famer Klay Thompson takes 5 all night? Or I guess 7 he took all night. He made 3. But I'm just saying, my goodness, Golden State, it was like they didn't know what hit him. And it's going to be really, I really felt like Boston would win game 1. Why? Because I really think, it would be a better series if Boston won game 1. And
Larry, not to be like a kind of a, okay, I'm just going to say, not to be a dick, but like, why did you think Boston in game 1? Do you think like the refs were going to like help them out?
I just think Boston. I think that the rest factor is a benefit to the team that gets more rest if it's 4 days. When it's more than that, or if there's anything, then you're talking about rust versus. It's the rest versus rust equation. You need rest, but you don't need rust. And to me, they were right there on the border of having so many days off that they get rust. And then I also saw Boston, have to play all the way out with Miami, and I just thought that they would have a little bit more sharpness, a little bit more of an edge. They've been awesome on the road, and I just thought they would get 1 of 2 in Golden State, and I just felt like Golden State, that they would have a little rust and they would be a little flat, and they wouldn't necessarily go quite the way they wanted in game 1. It wasn't because I thought some NBA conspiracy. I do think though that more times than not, the finals, a lot of times it's about engaging the audience. I think it's going to be a much bigger audience going forward because Boston got game 1. But the real reason I like Boston was they played with an edge to finish Miami, and the Warriors have been resting up. And Boston was so good on the road. I think 7-4, something like that.
That's the thing. Not much of an edge. They got blown out at home, and then they basically almost blew the game 7. Like they had trouble finishing quarters, finishing teams out. That was my thing. Is I was just like,
but they won 3 times in Miami.
That's true. But they also
Miami's a pretty good home court. They just beat them there 3 times. I just had it was nothing. It's more than a hunch than anything. But I'm thinking Warriors are going to split. Then they're going to go to Boston. They're going to split, and it's going to come down to a best of 3. And I really believe that's what we're going to see. But now, obviously, the pressure is on Golden State to get game 2. Now, game 2 is it's going to be It's going to be nerve-wracking kind of basketball. But, a lot of people were nervous at halftime because Tatum hadn't done anything. Steph had gone off in the first quarter, and Boston had the lead at halftime. I just wasn't, games go a lot of different ways, and so I wasn't too concerned about that. I just think that when you look at Boston right now, when they can get points out of, non-Jason Tatum people, they're going to be tough to beat. They're going to be really tough to beat. And 21 for White. If they can get 20 a night out of White, this series is going to be very difficult to win for Golden State.
Yeah,
it's a wrap. Yeah.
It kind of reminded me almost like Chicago's first year in the finals against the Lakers I mean, are we looking at the new guard taking the old guard? I mean, it's hard to say after one game, obviously. I mean, there's going to be adjustments that'll be made, but the Warriors obviously have to win game 2, or it probably will be a very difficult for them to come back and win it. But this is an experienced team, and Iguodala had some key moments tonight, but I'm not sure if I like him and Green on the floor too much, just because it really bogs down the offense, because you really don't have to play Green and Iguodala for the 3-point shot. And so it kind of clogs up the floor. But when you have 5 guys out there, when you got Porter and Thompson and Poole and Curry and Wiggins, or even 4 or 5 of those guys, it opens the floor up. I don't know. It seems like Iguodala was in there more than I thought he would be, and he didn't play bad at all. He made, like you said, I think he had a 3-pointer, and then he had one down low.
He played well. He was efficient. I mean, his numbers look good.
He played well, but I'm just saying it was easier for Boston to kind of clamp down more on defense, and really the Warriors just looked so stagnant in the fourth quarter. It was like they just looked completely out of sync. It was like all of a sudden these threes start hitting, and then the Warriors started forcing shots. And some of it obviously has to go to Boston's D. Robert Williams, even though he didn't he had some lobs and he had some putback dunks and all that. But on defense, he was like really, clogging that paint up, blocking some shots down low.
That's all that matters. Is he has a block on Curry, has a block on Poole. Now they're both scared to get in the
block on Green too. Is that the one? Yeah.
And my thing is, when I'm looking at Draymond, because Draymond objectively had a horrible game. He didn't impact the game at all in the way he normally does. And honestly, this may be giving too much credit to Udoka, but you know how everyone was on the broadcast, on Twitter, everybody's like, they're playing drop coverage on Steph Curry. They're playing Steph Curry one-on-one. Like, I know it's Marcus Smart, but like, come on, you like, what is this, 2015 before people figured this out? Like, this is going to be easy buckets for him. But what I noticed is that Draymond Green did not have the ball in his hands. He's been our de facto point guard
right.
I mean, he has not had the ball in his hands making plays. I mean, I don't remember the last time I saw Draymond Green just stuck in a corner and it gets swung to him at the end of a shot clock for a corner 3. Like, what is he doing over there? So, like, I almost feel like we played into their hand of, like, I mean, Draymond never got a rhythm. I think about, like, this is stupid, but NBA 2K, the video game, if you have like a my player and it's like you can do certain things to gain momentum and then all of a sudden you're on fire. Draymond Green's way of gaining momentum and getting into the game is getting assists, moving, having the ball in his hands, setting screens, all this stuff. He just wasn't involved enough on offense to get a rhythm. And then also, I mean, yeah, and then also they ended up switching. I believe they switched Marcus Smart onto Draymond in the second quarter, which is kind of an interesting adjustment because then every time there's the Draymond screen with Steph, boom, Marcus Smart. I don't know. I'm pretty discouraged. I mean, I said it before. I thought the Celtics are a better team. I thought our experience would lead us to win this in 7, but that was kind of scary.
Well, it's funny. Green, had a bad night shooting it, 2 of 12.
He's 0 for 4 from 3. 4 threes.
0 for 3 from the foul line. I mean, that also hurt. He had 5 assists, but to me, the one thing that really jumped out in this game was just Jordan Poole didn't look good at all. He had 4 turnovers in 25 minutes. He had 9 points. He took 5 threes. He only made 1. He didn't even get to the foul line that much. I mean, it's just, I don't know. To me, I thought Poole left me wanting a little bit more. Golden State, And the other thing I wanted to see more shots for Otto Porter. I mean, it was clearly his night. He's the veteran. He looked really comfortable shooting the ball. I wanted him to take more than 5 shots. But I mean, the other thing I think that really jumped out is that the length of Boston's front court has bothered Draymond Green offensively. So, he shot 2 of 12. Now he missed 4 threes, but he took 8 other shots, and he only made 2
shots at the rim.
And Tatum's 6'9", Horford 6'10". The length on their front court may have bothered Green because it just seemed like he didn't get a lot of good looks. So I mean, it was an incredible game to watch, really. I mean, Golden State came out in the first quarter. They looked like they were going to dominate, and Boston's hanging right with them. It's 32-28 at the end of the first quarter. Then the Celtics, the Warriors going on an 8-0 run in the second quarter. Celtics matched it with an immediate 8-0 run of their own, and the Celtics led at halftime. Then Golden State comes out and scores 38 points in the third quarter, and they led by 12. And I don't know. I think everybody thought it was over, and they just kind of let up. They kind of lost their intensity a little bit.
I was concerned because I thought they should have been up by 16 or 18 going into the fourth. They didn't execute the last minute or so, and they let Boston. They got it up to 14, and then they let Boston get that foul. I think they called it on. It might have been on Iguodala at the end of the third with 1.6 seconds left. Yeah. I almost thought it looked like it should have been challenged because my thought was it didn't look like a foul. It looked like ball. And I said, don't let them have the momentum, go ahead. And I was thinking use that challenge just because they would have been up by 14. Because when Boston cut it to 10 and then they cut it to 7 and it was like then 5 and then it was so quick. It was within, I think they had 26, 27 points in the first 6 minutes of the quarter.
And, the other thing, though, it's like, one of the things that Boston gets and veteran players get, heck, the Spurs got it. Sometimes I wonder if Golden State gets this, is when you hit a couple threes and you got a team reeling a little bit, don't shoot another 3. Don't take a heat check shot. Get yourself work off the ball. Get yourself in the mid-range. Square up those shoulders and hit and shoot a high percentage 2. And to me, that's where Boston won this game. Horford White hit a 3. Horford hit a couple threes. Warriors are reeling, and then all of a sudden they call a timeout. Horford gets a wide open baseline 2 and knocks it down. Well, even the 2 at that point was a crusher, right? Because you're taking a 9-point lead and you're making it an 11-point lead or whatever it was, or maybe it was a 6-point lead and you made it an 8-point lead. But I mean, you're expanding that lead inside of 3 minutes, and the pressure that's applied when you can expand that lead with a high percentage 2 is just it's a very frustrating thing. So I mean, interesting basketball game, but man, if you're Golden State, if you're a Golden State fan, I mean, have you ever been at a game that you felt went from a win to a loss faster than tonight? They're up 12 to it's 109-103. I mean,
I honestly never felt. I'll tell you the moment when I was like, Boston's not dead at all, because honestly, I mean, yeah, the Warriors were up a bunch, but they were there. It was like a Warriors 8-0 run, then a Boston 8-0 run, then, you know what I mean? And this is where I thought the Warriors against the Mavericks, against the Grizzlies, against the Nuggets, this is where they win the game. 3:43 left in the third quarter, right? They're already making their run. They're up 11 points. Poole makes a 30-footer after not doing anything. Now they're up 14. Derek White immediately comes back, answers with a 3. Makes another 11 points.
He just doesn't miss now.
And then right back, Otto Porter, another 3 to put him up 14. Right. Then right back to Horford hitting another 3 to answer. And it was like, holy crap, like we should be up 30. We should be up 30. And then the way the quarter ended. And then, I mean, I like Iguodala out there. I like his experience. I like all that stuff. But we didn't have an offensive flow at all. in the beginning.
Yeah, you're right, Ryan. And I would I'm looking at some things right now, and I'm thinking a possible adjustment we might see Sunday is no longer the teenager, but Moses Moody, who just turned 20 a couple days ago. Moody is 6'5" with a wingspan of almost 7'1". Jordan Poole's wingspan is like 6'7". Okay, that's like 5 inches or so. That extra reach. Moody is a
Danny,
real
you're going to sit Poole for wingspan? I mean, it's the finals.
Just for defense on purposes, not on it, but give him some minutes to see how he looks, and because he can hit the open jumper too. I thought Poole was taking the Warriors out of their offense because he was not getting the ball to Steph at all when he was bringing the ball up. It was like he was running the offense and he's dribbling the clock down, and then he's looking and he ends up either turning it over or he ends up taking a wild shot or passing it to somebody with just a few seconds left on the shot clock. I just thought Curry was so hot in that first quarter. You got to keep feeding him. And I just didn't see Poole. It was almost like the moment was too big for him tonight, because he didn't look like he was himself, because he really didn't drive a lot. He tried to drive a couple times there and get to the foul line. He got a few shots. I think he got fouled once or twice, but they were shutting him down. And I just think when Curry's in the game, he has to touch the ball more. There was at least 4 or 5 possessions.
By the way, not to interrupt you, but that was the other factor in this game, is that Curry rolled his ankle in the fourth quarter, and it looked pretty bad. It looked pretty bad.
So I thought it looked like a real little quick one. It didn't look like it.
Well, I mean, it didn't go. We didn't snap it or anything, but it looked. I mean, he rolled it. I mean, he planted and his ankle rolled. Now it didn't break. It didn't snap. There wasn't anything, but it didn't look like it was going to be feeling good. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And they don't play again till Sunday, but it's interesting. I mean, Mark Tan says, simply they got hot, which is one way to look at it. Dave Johnson says Poole, Clay, and Draymond were, in a word, awful. This is another interesting one. SLLL says the Dubs aren't that scared of the Celtics on offense. Their desperate bombs just fell tonight. We were cold from a long layoff. I don't know. I don't know if it was the layoff. This guy says, Dave Johnson says Steph was awful in the fourth quarter. So, I mean, I cannot remember a turnaround quite that fast. They got a little flat at the end of the third quarter. Jaylen Brown then got really hot at the beginning of the fourth quarter. If you go back to that fourth quarter and look at those sequences, Jaylen Brown really did have some outstanding moments. He hit a 3 to make it a 7-point lead. Then Boston goes on that 9-0 run. Then Brown hits another 3 in that run to make it a 2-point game. Then he has a beautiful lay-in once again, it's a 3-point game. So Jaylen Brown, I mean, in some ways, we talked about who we feared in this game. And I was saying Jaylen Brown, just because he can be, some nights he can't make a shot and he can't stop anybody. Other nights he plays great defense and knocks down clutch shot after clutch shot. He just looked very comfortable in this game. And I'll tell you, the other one that bothered me is that Marcus Smart against the Warriors looks like an all-league player. I mean, I don't even know what to say about Marcus Smart. He's a genius defensive player. When they had the live mic and they showed him talking to his teammates, I mean, he didn't sound like a coach. He sounded like a Hall of Fame coach. You know what I mean? He didn't sound like a guy who knew the game. He sounded like a guy who knew the game like the back of his hand. So I'm very fearful of Marcus Smart. He's another guy that's way better than his stats. He's an awesome defender, awesome competitor, and unfortunately tonight he got the 3-ball train rolling early for them.
Yeah, he was hitting threes.
Hitting them.
But honestly, I agree. And you know what? Give Marcus Smart his props. He wasn't scared of the moment. That's the thing about Marcus Smart. He's not scared of the moment. Guess what? Everybody wanted to make excuses for Jason Tatum down the stretch versus Miami, but for making the right pass to Smart. But Smart, unfortunately or fortunately, is the guy on that team that's not scared to take the shot down the stretch. I think it's going to come back to bite him at some point. I wasn't so unhappy with Smart hoisting all these threes. I mean, honestly, if you were to talk about, I guess towards the end of the fourth quarter, you could say that the Celtics offense started getting humming. But I mean, at the beginning, it looked like their offense was basically, all right, let's get it to Tatum, and Tatum's going to hunt whoever, and wasn't doing anything, got some pretty soft foul calls. But they basically were just shooting threes every possession. That's what it felt like. And they hit 50% of them. But I don't know. I'm not.
Was it as simple as a hot shooting night from Boston and you just flush it and go to game 2?
No.
Or was there something that fundamentally is wrong with Golden State that has to be changed prior to game 2?
I think it's just that. Okay, I'm going to be actually very interested to hear Draymond's podcast after this, because I think that the biggest thing is that, look, Steph, I thought that the top 2 players for the Warriors tonight were Steph Curry and Wiggins. I thought they were the most consistent.
What do you think of this text, Rye, from Dave Johnson? Why did Steph sit to start the fourth? Kerr, come on. I mean, I know that's what he normally does, but this is the finals.
I agree. I agree to some extent, but also I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm a little scared because I saw him, in that Toronto series where they basically played him every minute and he went for 47, and it seemed like he was never right the rest of the series. So I just feel keep Steph in his rhythm, but it was a weird lineup. It was a weird lineup to start the fourth. We got to get Poole going earlier. Also, the other thing that they were doing in order to kind of slow down our runs and cool the momentum was get to the line. They complain about it or whatever, but they were getting to the line. They were at least trying to drive into the basket and force refs to make calls. I actually thought the refs were great tonight, but the Warriors didn't have any element of that. I mean, seriously, they were not driving to the bucket. We were all jump shots today. All jump shots.
Yeah, it's just going to be, they're going to have to mix up some things because Tatum didn't even play well at all tonight. He was pretty much non-existent, and they still win going away.
But he was a great passer. I'll give him that. He made 3 or 4 just awesome dime passes on the perimeter. That's another skill too. When you recognize it's not your night and you can find other guys in the half court. That's what I got out of Tatum tonight, Danny, is that he kind of knew it wasn't his night, wasn't going to force the action, didn't overreact to it, didn't say, you know what, I'm going to lead no matter what. He just said, you know what, I'm going to make some incredible passes. And he did. He made 3 or 4 just perfect passes on the perimeter, and those shots got knocked down. I think that was a huge factor.
I mean, Daniel Tice is hitting threes in the corner.
Yeah.
I can't say Tatum. I got to just push back a little. People are saying Tatum was a top 5 guy in the league coming into this series, and maybe if they go on to win it and he steps it up, people will be saying he's kind of like the new face of the league type guy. I mean, this team, what this team reminds me of is it reminds me of the Raptors. It reminds me when we played the Raptors. I never was that scared of Kawhi at all. He was a good player, played good defense, he had one stretch in, I believe it was game 5, where the Warriors ended up coming back to win, where he kind of started dominating. But for the most part, it was oh my God, Fred VanVleet is unstoppable. Siakam's unstoppable. Ibaka's hitting all these crazy shots. They had 7 guys averaging, double figures.
But what was unique about these two teams? Similarities between Toronto and Boston. And if you go back to that old OKC team in 2016, it's length, and it's Memphis. It upsets the Warriors when you have 5 guys that can switch and they're long defenders. It seems to really clog up the Warriors offense, because the Warriors offense is all about motion, setting screens, and a lot of easy buckets at the hoop. And we saw it against Dallas, right? I mean, they were just picking their pockets all series long, easy buckets. You didn't see a lot of easy buckets tonight.
No, none of the Looney. And Looney, you know what? Looney had a great game in terms of rebounding. And that's another thing I'll say is down the stretch, we just stopped going to the offensive boards, which was wild to me. The fact that we were down and we stopped going to the offensive
Boston
boards.
was boxing out. You saw even the Williams and Smart down there. They were boxing guys out. And if you noticed a lot at the fourth quarter, Warriors were hoisting up shots, and like you just said, there was nobody in the paint to rebound for the Warriors. They were all out.
I feel like they kind of panicked, guys, to be honest. I mean, once Horford hit that second three to make it 109, 103.
Yeah.
Jay Stamps 101 makes a good point here. He says the 109, 103 felt like 119, 103 the way the game was going. I could not agree with that text more. I think he nailed that. I felt the exact same thing. I mean, yeah, that's a 6-point game, but Golden State lost all poise at that point, and then it was just a matter of like, oh my God, we're in a 6-point hole. We were up 12. And I think they needed at that point, they needed a timeout. I don't know. It just seemed it was a weird game from the standpoint of, Poole and Draymond, I thought were disastrous in the first half. I mean, I was looking at the halftime box. Green and Poole at halftime were 2 of 11, and they had taken 4 combined threes and missed them all. So, I mean, those two guys really had a bad night. And then Boston recognized who their hot shooters were better than Golden State. Golden State's hot shooter was Otto Porter. They didn't recognize it. And they didn't get him the ball. And they didn't set things up for him. Where Boston, Derek White's been their kind of like secret weapon. And so they're looking for him. And he's shooting that three with tremendous confidence. So, this is a Boston team that's got a lot of guts, that's got a lot of confidence, that's got a lot of momentum, that's playing in rhythm, and they're now playing their roles. And Derek White's role on this team is to just keep the floor spread, shoot the 3 ball, and knock them down. And he did that tonight. I mean, it's going to be really difficult to beat Boston if they can't get Derek White off of this rhythm that he's in, because this is a rhythm that goes back to the middle of the last round where he got it going against Miami. And it's like nobody's been able to turn off his offensive faucet. And that is going to be a problem because this kid is shooting the ball with tremendous confidence right now. And they need to disrupt his rhythm from beyond the arc.
Yeah, I'd love to get my brother, the coach's perspective, what kind of adjustments he would make. And I think he'll be calling in any moment. I'm curious what, as a coach, when he watches a game like this and he sees it all fall apart, what do you do for the next game? So, like I say, he should be calling in.
I mean, what you got to do is you got to execute. You got to execute, and you got to play smart, fundamental basketball. Now, the other question is, how's Steph Curry's ankle going to be in the next game? Has he lost any mobility? I mean, the one thing with Marcus Smart, I'll tell you the other call that I didn't like in this game is I felt like that offensive call against Curry on the push-off.
Oh, yeah, that was a bad call.
Seemed really ticky-tack as well. I've seen my goodness, what round was it we were watching and somebody had a blatant push-off? I mean, a blatant push-off where, just like literally
flying them. Yeah, send them flying.
It wasn't a Warrior game. It was some other game in the last round. And we've seen some blatant push-offs that haven't gotten called. That was a very subtle push-off, I thought, by Steph. And he didn't really
fouled him earlier.
Well, not only that, also, I don't think Smart made it look like he got faked out. Steph faked him out and pushed off, but it was the fake out that made Smart lose his footing, not the push off. And they called it on Steph for the offensive, like that one arm off somehow made Smart go to the ground.
I mean, I saw that in multiple angles. What happened is Smart grabbed his arm, like kind of hooked it. And I think Steph thought that by kind of pushing off, it would expose the fact that Smart was holding on to him. But unfortunately, Smart kind of just like let go at the same time and fell back. And I mean, Steph did push off. Doesn't change the fact that Smart was kind of gripping his arm. But I wasn't like horribly mad at that. I mean, it was kind of brutal, the fact that that happened. And then immediately right after that, he slaps on Horford or was it Tatum? And they called that shooting. They called it a shooting foul when, if you're going to call it, it was on the floor for sure. All right. I think we got Coccimiglio on.
Hey, gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
Doing great, Steve. What'd you think?
Well, that start of the fourth quarter, they didn't get any really good shots, and Boston got going, and to get outscored 40-16 in the fourth quarter was, and Steph was on the bench at the start of the fourth quarter, but it was, they made all their shots. There's no doubt about it. Even Pritchard was making shots. They were all making shots, but it really boiled down to, I thought Jaylen Brown really broke them down, and he was kicking it out. They really, they had a few guys guarding him, Poole and then Clay, but Jaylen was he was good tonight.
Well, and Coach, sorry to interrupt you, but this was a major thing that I was thinking during the game is that, okay, Tatum doesn't have it going. All right. We've got, at one point, Wiggins was on Brown. That kind of went well. We had Poole on Brown and other guys and Clay. And the thing about Brown is he has a little bit of Jordan Poole in him where, he's not as much of a natural ball handler, natural playmaker. He's built himself into that, but you can tell he's done tons of training. He's a little bit in his head on the moves that he's going to make before he makes them. And a lot of times he gets ahead of himself. He travels a lot. He'll carry the ball. He leaves the ball out there to be had. And versus the Heat, they would swipe that ball and take it the other way. And that would be massive momentum changer. And all of a sudden Brown doesn't want the ball in his hands in the same way. But we had Poole on him and Clay, and he was, doing kind of weird, funky drives and whatnot. And then he got going. And then once he got going, what are you going to do? He's a great basketball player.
I'm the CEO, manager, director of marketing, all in one.
Danny or Steve, you still there, bud?
Social media content, videos.
Larry, I think that might be you. There's a ad running in the background. Okay.
All right. Go ahead, Steve, if you want to comment on what Ryan was just talking about there.
Well, but they did not miss. Horford didn't miss. Pritchard didn't miss. Smith didn't miss. Those role players, and I don't want to call Horford a role player, but Pritchard's a role player. Smith is kind of a role player.
You mean White? Are you talking about White or
percentage was off the charts and down the stretch?
It's funny too. You look at, Al Horford, he's a career 36% 3-point shooter, and he hit 6 of 8 from beyond the arc. That I wasn't seeing that. I wasn't banking on that. I wasn't banking on Horford looking like Dirk. And Horford just, it's amazing. It's you better extend on Horford because he's a 6'9", 6'10" player shooting the 3 ball. And man, if you give him an open look right now, it's down. It's down. He's playing at an exceptionally high level right now.
They came out of a situation when Brown came in and threw the lob to Williams for the dunk, and it was part of that closing the gap. The Warriors were not even set up on defense. They got back. They weren't, no one was guarding Williams. Thompson was kind of guarding him, and but he was, Williams was behind him, and Thompson was in no man's land. It was just an easy basket. I thought the Warriors, they just didn't execute to start the fourth quarter offensively. They gave up easy baskets for a quick 7-0 run, and it just changed the entire complexion. After the third quarter, it looked like they were going to, 10, 12-point lead, and we're in control of the game.
And they didn't show a lot of poise. We talked about this before, Steve, but when Boston went up 109-103, that's a 6-point game with 4.5 minutes left. There's a lot of basketball to be played there. Unfortunately, if you look at those sequences right there, though, They settle for a Draymond Green 3 and then a Draymond Green 2, and it's like, you know what? He's like he's like one of the last guys you want shooting, especially when you have to knock a shot down. And to me, I just thought it was interesting that in the midst of the most dramatic, moment in the game where Horford hit a couple threes and suddenly they've got this 6-point lead, the response should have been something with Curry, something with an offensive player getting a high percentage look. I would have loved to have seen Kerr call the timeout and maybe design a couple high percentage looks for, Steph or Clay or any of their offensive players. To have Green, as the only guy who felt comfortable taking those shots, to me, that was a lack of focus from the coaching staff and a lack of poise from a veteran team that's been to the finals a lot. It's like the team's making a run on you. You need to come away with a high percentage look, and you're having Draymond Green, your rebounder distributor, shoot 2 huge sequences, and he missed both. And I thought that the game kind of pivoted right there. I mean, it was there, and then suddenly it was gone. I don't remember, Steve, watching a game where it was like you felt really good and then really bad, like you had no chance to win in such a short amount of time.
Well, and Lair, just to interrupt a little bit, the thing that makes this way more painful and way more brutal is that the Celtics made their run, right? And that was the thing that was happening throughout the game, is they would go have an 8-0 run, 10-0 run, Warriors would answer. So let me run down this with you. Okay, so we had, Jaylen Brown makes a 3, Robert Williams makes it an alley-oop, Pritchard makes a 2-point shot, all while we're not scoring. Curry gets in the game. Jaylen Brown, bad pass, Curry steals it. Immediately, Iguodala dunk. Answered, and that makes it a 5-point game. Answered by a Jaylen Brown 3. That makes it a 2-point game. Then Clay comes down, hits what you'd think would be like oh my God, okay, now the Warriors are pulling back away, and hits another 3, 97-92. Immediately, Brown layup. Draymond Green makes a layup. Pritchard makes a 3. Curry makes a jump shot, or a 20-foot step back jump shot. White makes a 28-foot 3. Curry makes a 7-foot 2-pointer. And then the run begins for the Celtics. So it was like the Warriors were doing it. They scored like 4 or 5 times in a row to answer, but then the Celtics went on like a crazy run where they scored like 9 times in a row.
They didn't miss for a while. Yeah. And then you were saying there something about Larry coming out of timeouts. It seems like I remember one timeout, Iguodala had the ball, looked like he had a shot to drive to the hoop, but then I think Williams was down there and he kind of threw a hook pass like way high. Was that Iguodala that threw that and it was a turnover? He tried to throw it back out to the toward the 3-point line. Wasn't that right off after a timeout? Was it Green or Iguodala that threw that? Somebody threw a wild pass that was like way up in the air, and it was just stolen, and then Boston went down and scored. You don't remember that? It was right after a timeout. And I don't
remember the exact sequence, but I mean, ultimately, it just, I don't think that Golden State played with a lot of poise, because you knew Boston was going to make a run. They did make a run. And then when they did make a run, you would think Golden State would get high percentage looks. And as that run continued, it seemed like every possession, they got a lower percentage look. And that's not what you want, and you definitely don't want Green. If anything, you want Green trying to find Curry or Thompson for a freed up 3 because you're down 6, and instead he's shooting the ball. So, I mean, it was a very interesting game, because Boston found a way on a night where Jason Tatum really wasn't being like Jason Tatum to compensate with other guys. And instead of going, you know what, it's Tatum's team and he's got to shoot the ball at the end, they just stayed with the hot hand. They just rode their hot hand. Horford had a hot hand. He kept shooting. White had the hot hand. He kept shooting. Golden State just seemed like they got emotionally bothered by how fast the lead evaporated. And, man, they almost looked paralyzed after Horford hit those 2 threes, to the point where at that point, you have to get some stops. And instead, coming out of a timeout, Boston gets a freed up look in the mid-range for Horford coming out of a timeout. And he knocked it down along the baseline, and that was it. I mean, there at that point, Golden State looked done. They look totally done. So it's going to be interesting to see what is there. I mean, I can't imagine they're going to sit a Poole for Moody. I can't imagine they're going to do anything really dramatic. I would be interested to know exactly what is the physical status of Gary Payton, because Payton, do you want him out there if he cannot shoot? Do you want him out there if all he can do is chase guys around and play defense? He might be so good defensively that is worth a look, despite the fact he might not feel comfortable at all shooting it. And then you're kind of playing 4-on-5 on the offensive end. What do you guys think? I mean, we don't know his status or how close he was to playing. We know that he was out there in uniform, but we never saw him get any time. Makes you wonder what exactly he can and can't do.
Right. I wonder about that shooting arm. Yeah, because I saw him being interviewed yesterday during the media day, and he kept moving his right hand, and he never picked up his left hand when he was talking. It was always only his right hand. And I thought, that's weird, being a left-handed guy, not using his strong arm at all. So who knows? I know he's been practicing, he's been shooting. We just don't know how effective. But I'd be curious, Steve, what you think, what type of adjustments will need to be made for game 2 as a coach? What do you look to do to turn the tide?
I mean, they've got to contain penetration. Brown broke him down quite a bit, and they did a good job on Tatum. I mean, Tatum was frustrated. Wiggins did a good job on him, but I don't like we were talking about. Both Poole and Thompson kind of had a hard time containing Brown. Got to the rim, but then he was kicking it out, and they were, and I called the kid Smith, but it's the kid from Colorado, White, who was really effective tonight. But that's, they asked, when they do those mandatory coaching interviews, and the gal asked her, what are you doing on defense is so special? And at the time, the Warriors were in the lead. It was at the end of the third quarter. He goes,
said nothing.
Shrugged his shoulders.
Yeah.
We're containing the ball. Okay. Well, they stopped containing the ball in the fourth quarter. And that's what happened was, although they all had to collapse to help. And then all those guys were making shots on the perimeter. And there was one shot that had really good, Curry defended White. It was right in front of the Boston bench, and the shot clock was running down, and White made the shot. But that was the only contested three that I saw in the fourth quarter. So they're going to need to do a better job at containing and just. So
how do you do that? How do you do that? What do you do if Poole can't guard Brown and Clay isn't able to shut him down? Who do you put on Brown? Because he was the one that was kind of the catalyst in that. Who's the stopper? Do you put Wiggins on Brown and put somebody else on Tatum, or do you bring somebody off the bench, a GP2, to try and shut down Brown, or even a Moses Moody? What do you think?
I mean, the only option that I would think about would be Payton on Brown, because I think he could probably. Brown's a little bigger than him, but Payton would be effective at stopping penetration. I don't know how good he would be on offense. We don't know. But Jaylen Brown is coming into his own. But they momentum in basketball switches back and forth, and you saw it when Boston played Miami. I mean, Boston at home in Game 6 had a chance to close it out, and were terrible. And then they turn around in Miami, and everybody thinks, okay, well, Miami and Butler's healthy, and Lowry's healthy, and Miami's going to win. And then Boston plays great. It's just 48 minutes is a long time. I mean, it's a high school game's 32 minutes, a college game's 40 minutes, and the NBA game being 48 minutes. And I just thought the Warriors, they really lost their concentration coming out of the they had possession of the ball to start the third quarter. and they were not productive. And I think the play that you're talking about, they came out of a timeout, and it was 109, 103, and that's when Green threw the pass away on the baseline. Iguodala was out, and that they threw that away, and then Boston came down and scored right away. I can't remember really that many stops down the stretch in the game in the fourth quarter.
Hey, Coach, I'm sorry. Sorry, Coach, you're not going to be able to see this, but I think that this very much when everyone's talking about Iguodala and Green being out there, and it's kind of like, Iguodala hit some big shots, but it didn't look right. I'm about to share, I promise this is not going to be flagged, just a screenshot tweeted by Haralabob Vulgaris, formerly of the Mavericks front office. Look at this spacing. All right. We got Draymond Green. This is 94-92 Golden State with 8 minutes left in the fourth. We've got Green in the left corner. We've got Iguodala on the top of the circle, both wide open from three. We got a man stuck on Clay, a man stuck on Porter, and there's three guys collapsing on Curry on the drive. And that's where Iguodala,
that's a team that's done their homework on exactly how they want to defend the Golden State Warriors.
Exactly.
You got to tip your cap to Udoka and Boston, because that is you want to leave Iguodala. You want to leave Green. You want to suck up on those other guys, and you want to make sure that the ball can't find its way back to Steph. So that's a genius sequence right there. And it's that kind of stuff that makes Boston the defensive juggernaut that they are. I mean, I'll tell you the other. Oh, go ahead, Steve. What did you think of the sequence?
I just saw the picture, but okay, that was effective, no doubt about it. I mean, they're not going to guard Green at any time during the series. They don't care if he makes them. They want him to shoot. Just pretty much how things have gone for a long time. But how did they start the game the way they did, and they were literally not guarding Steph Curry. He had 6 threes to start the game, and 4 of those were uncontested with nobody guarding him. So obviously they, made adjustments. They made pretty good adjustments in the second quarter because Steph was not effective. And in the second half and down the stretch, they decided they were not going to let Steph beat them. They were not going to let Clay beat them, period. And Poole was not effective. I thought Poole was he kind of showed his inexperience, and I don't blame him, but I thought he tried too hard. I thought he forced plays. He got picked in the first half a couple times when he was trying to force penetration, and then he wasn't as effective defensively, especially when he's guarding Brown down the stretch. But, the 7-game series, and I think it'll go 7. That's my opinion. I was surprised that Boston won tonight, but give them credit. They outplayed them down the stretch.
No doubt. Steve, we'll let you go because we're going to welcome in Cy here and it'll just be a packed room. But I love your perspective, and please give us a call Sunday when we do our post game. We'd love to hear back from you and get your perspective. I appreciate it, though, Steve. Thanks for giving us a call.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Steve Coccimiglio, former basketball coach and a guy who's given us some great perspective. Cyrus Saatsaz joins us. And Cy, one of the factors, that is absolutely a huge factor in game one was Derek White. And
yes.
I decided to look up Derek White's game log, and it's really disturbing. What you're going to find is Derek White is absolutely in one of those Cody Ross hot streaks, starting with game 3 against the Heat. He double figures in game 3, double figures in game 4, 22 in game 5. He shot 57% from 3 in game 5. Then in game 6, I should say. And then in game 7, he shot 66.7% and almost had double figures. And now tonight he shoots 62%, 21 points off the bench. And it just seems like, the 3 is such a big part of the game. But when you can then find a 3-point shooter who gets hot, who's not necessarily among your initial guys, man, what a shot in the arm that is. White's in such a hot spot right now that he think every 3 he takes, he thinks is going down.
Larry, I'm sorry. I think you have a bad going in the background.
Okay, we'll dump that.
You're good. You're good.
Cy, what do you think? Derek White, and just give us your thoughts. I mean, obviously Golden State got absolutely destroyed, 40-16 in the fourth quarter, and it looked like Warriors were going to win. They had a 12-point lead going to the fourth, and Boston ran them off their home floor. We've been obviously breaking it down for almost an hour now. Give me your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I just started joining you guys late. I had to do a post-game hit with Locked On first just to address a panicked Dub Nation. I do not have a panic button pressed right now. The Derek White thing is interesting, given for the regular season, he shot 31% from beyond the arc. In this postseason, even with those numbers you threw out, he's still shooting 27% from three. And then tonight he goes 5 for 8, and he's damn near perfect in the fourth quarter. I thought Al Horford was in just like the fourth quarter shooting was in a lot of regards, it's an anomaly. They were 9 for 12 from three, and I think they started the fourth quarter 8 for 8. I don't care who the other team is or who the team is in general. If you're shooting that good, there just isn't much you can do. Now, there's a lot you could break down here, because part of this was on Steve Kerr as well. There was clearly no urgency in the fourth quarter from the Warriors. I mean, the Warriors for 3.5 quarters of this game played better. And then in that fourth quarter, everything collapsed. It started with Jaylen Brown hitting bucket after bucket after bucket. He's the one who started the whole thing. And the fault to me on Kerr is that he should have brought Andrew Wiggins back in the game much sooner. Wiggins played 34 minutes total. He should have played 40. For some reason, Kerr was in love with Iguodala, and I don't think Iguodala had a bad game per se, but Iguodala's 12 minutes should have been
spacing. It's the spacing that he doesn't provide that screws everything up offensively.
But Wiggins doesn't provide much spacing either. But what Wiggins has
They
been
respect
doing,
him.
but sort of. But what Wiggins, I mean, Wiggins takes open shots all day. They don't respect him that much. But what Wiggins does defensively, he's effective on Jaylen Brown. Like, Jaylen Brown was having a very hard time in this game scoring when Wiggins was on him. That was something that got discovered early on that is going to work in this 7-game series. For some reason, though, Kerr did not bring it back in until the 6-minute mark, when it should have been at the 9 or 10-minute mark. And I didn't like that. Otto Porter Jr. was actually having a solid game for the most part. He was 4 for 5 from three. When you talk about spacing, he spaces the floor. You can't leave Otto Porter Jr. open, because he will kill you from beyond the arc. Whereas Wiggins, I think, went like 2 for 7 from three tonight. Otto Porter Jr. was 4 for 5. And I know Otto Porter Jr. is on a minutes restriction, but you can play him a little more than 23 minutes. I mean, that was too low for him.
He had the hot hand, right? I mean, Porter had the hot hand.
He had a hot hand, and I don't know why. For some reason, he's on a minutes restriction because of those foot injuries, but he could have played a few more minutes. I thought Stephen Curry could have come in the game a few minutes earlier in the fourth. Yep. I mean, this is the NBA Finals. He should be prepared to play 40 if necessary. So, I mean, part of that was coaching, but a lot of it ultimately was the Warriors' game plan was this: we're not going to let Jason Tatum beat us, and it backfired, because Jason Tatum had 13 assists in this game. And a lot of those assists was going to Al Horford, who, again, went 6 for 8 from beyond the arc. I mean, I'm sorry, like, collectively between him and Derek White, they went 11 for 16 from three, including that crazy fourth quarter where Marcus Smart got involved in the party. Marcus Smart went 4 for 7 from three. The Celtics collectively shot over 51% from three. That's better than any other team's done against the Warriors all postseason.
Yeah, 21 for 41, 51.
It's incredible. And I'm sorry, but I mean, for anyone who picked the Celtics to win this series, I did not hear anyone say because of Al Horford and Derek White. Like, no one was saying that. Those guys had incredible nights. I don't know what the deal is with Gary Payne II now, because this was clearly mind games on the part of Steve Kerr in terms of teasing, the media and teasing the Celtics into thinking he might play. They could have used him tonight. My Warriors at 5 prediction was based entirely on him being a part of this plan. Without him, now it's going to go 7, probably, maybe 6, hopefully 7. I mean, hopefully Warriors win regardless, but it might go 7. But when a team shoots that lights out, there's just not much you can do. There's just not much you could do. I mean, you could be more aggressive. The Warriors certainly were playing a little too comfortable in that fourth quarter. I didn't see the urgency and energy that was there to start the third.
Well, how about this? How about crowd those guys? How about crowd Horford, crowd White? I mean, especially White. White's on a 3-point scald. We all saw that last round against Miami. He got hot from beyond the arc. He's carried that right over into this series. Forget what happened tonight because tonight's gone. But game 2 and going forward, I think you got to force Al Horford and Derek White to put it on the deck. Don't give them open looks at the 3. Horford, absolutely. The ball's coming out of Horford's hand so well right now, so naturally. He's shooting that with such freedom. And it's like, you know what? Crowd him, force him to dribble, force him to make a play. Because I think what you're looking at with both those guys, Versailles, if you force them to put it on the deck, even a couple dribbles, your chances of nabbing a turnover there go way, way up with those guys.
And I'm looking here at the minutes tonight. Tatum played 42 minutes and Brown played 38. The Warriors had Curry played 38 and Thompson had 39. But like you said, Wiggins 35, maybe 34 and a half or whatever. ESPN rounded it up to 35.
Iguodala got those minutes.
Yeah, I'm saying when Brown is on the floor, that's when Wiggins is on the floor. When Brown's off the floor, let Wiggins rest. Wiggins can go 40 minutes. These games, they got 2 full days to rest between the next game. So these guys can recover. And Wiggins is a guy that can play, I think he's played almost all 82 for the last several years. This year he didn't. They gave him rest on back-to-back, but that was just because they were resting him. He's capable of playing 40 minutes. You look at his body type, he's springy, he's quick, and Curry and Thompson can play those minutes, but Curry's got to play 40 minutes. I personally thought, Cy, that I wanted to see him start the second quarter, and if he missed a shot after a minute or two, sit him. But at least he had such a hot hand in that first quarter. I've seen it time and time again where guys sit and then they don't have that hot hand anymore. They lose it but it's one game
habit though, like the way they do their substitution patterns. It's something he has gotten. Yeah. Also, I will say with Wiggins, like, I don't think Wiggins, I think Wiggins could absolutely shut down Brown, but I mean, we can't act like, okay, Tatum's going to score 12 points and be basically horrible, except for getting to the free throw line for the rest of the series. Like, he's still the guy that we want Wiggins to have on him. I mean, Clay is the guy who's going to have to D up Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown has no handle. He has the ball. He leaves it out there. He's constantly falling off balance and whatnot. And I give him, he's got balls. He freaking showed up in the fourth quarter where a lot of other guys weren't. But like, if we have GP2 in there, that ball's getting stripped, and he's thinking twice about it, just like he did in the Miami series. But unfortunately, we had like Clay on him. A lot of times we had Poole on him. We had Poole guarding.
Yeah, Poole's not the guy to be guarding Brown. I say if Peyton is not available for some reason, give Moody a crack a few minutes on Brown. He's got a 7'1" wingspan.
Yeah, Moody's earned it.
Seriously, you're going to introduce Moody at this? You're going to introduce somebody who has barely played at this point in the finals? Well, I'm going to. You don't think that's an overreaction?
I'm going to take it a step further. If there's one player that disappointed me the most in this game tonight, it was Jordan Poole. I actually thought he was okay defensively, shockingly, because everyone was criticizing him on the defensive side of the ball. I didn't see him get abused much. He was doing decent, but offensively, he was a disaster. He looked like the moment was too big for him. Mm-hmm. His shooting was just completely atrocious.
His handle was all over the place too. His handle.
He couldn't attack. He couldn't penetrate. I think he had 2 turnovers that were big turnovers. Only had 9 points in the game total. I wouldn't mind seeing Moody take Poole's minutes.
Yeah, that's what Danny was saying earlier.
Yeah, but come on. Well, let's not overreact. Like, Jordan Poole's one of the guys that got us here.
Yeah, but it's all about matchups in a series. The series is about matchups.
What is one game? We were just saying there's no way. That's like saying, oh, well, Derek White is going to be the guy that we have to make sure, more than Tatum, we have to make sure that Tatum or Derek White doesn't kill us. And Horford, those are their 2 offensive options. Like, Jordan Poole, it's a series. He's going to get it back. We can't give up on him.
He may,
You
but
don't know that for sure.
Okay,
Though.
well,
But
then,
I mean,
you know what? We also don't know that Derek White's not going to shoot 80% from 3 for the rest of the series. So, like, what are we banking on? Sample size? That's what I want to bank on.
Right, you can't control that. You can control Jordan Poole. If Derek White's going to shoot that great, there's nothing you can do about that. But you can control the minutes of the players on your team. Jordan Poole was a disaster tonight. He did nothing of relevance there. He just offensively he was a dud. And at least
you think that if we gave Jordan Poole less minutes, that he would all of a sudden gain all of this confidence when he did get in the game? Because I think he'd get way worse.
I don't think you could get much worse. I'd rather see Moody.
I mean, Draymond Green was worse than Poole tonight, honestly.
My only concern, Cy, with Moody is that
Ryan, that is a dumb take, man.
How? The guy shot 4 threes. He did not have the ball in his hands. He fouled out. What? How are you?
Draymond Green, who had 11 rebounds in this game, was worse than Jordan Poole.
Yes.
Draymond Green, who was one of their defensive catalysts, was worse than Jordan Poole. Are you kidding me?
Yes.
Okay, well,
Green didn't shoot it at all, and he was unfortunately, Cy, and I brought this up earlier. It's not just the numbers on Green. It's the when he took those shots. Like while Horford was in that barrage of hitting a couple threes and then that two, sandwiched in there were misses by Green. I was saying was that when teams making a run on you, you need to go to your high percentage look. Many times the Warriors of the past would go to like a Sean Livingston, back him down. Why? Because you could square up the shoulders and get a high percentage look, and that would end a lot of runs against Golden State. Today in this game, Green wound up taking a couple of key shots and big sequences.
Larry, not in important moments though. If anything, Draymond Green hit that +1. To expand on the lead. I don't remember Draymond Green.
No, he had a really, really bad.
This is the one. This is the sequence that I wrote down. Okay, so I'm watching the game in the fourth quarter, and obviously Jaylen Brown got really hot, right? Yes. And then Derek White makes a three to tie the game. It's 103-103. Curry takes the next shot down. He missed a floater. Horford then knocks down an open three. At this point, Boston's 6 for 6 on threes. They're now up 3. Then Horford gets another 3 and nails it down. Now they're up 6. It's 109-107. The next time down in a 109-107 game, still 3.5 minutes to play. 6-point game. The game is right there for the taking. Either way, Warriors settle for a Draymond Green 3.
It was never 109-107. It was
109-103. Yeah. 109-103. They're down 6. They'd gone 7 for 7 at the 3-point line. But the next shot down, I thought, was a huge sequence for Golden State. They had to have an answer. And what did they get? They got a Draymond 3. Then Pritchard wound up missing a 3. And, after Horford hit his mid-range 2, Golden State's down 8. They still had a shot because there's right around 2 minutes left. Green takes another shot there. He misses the 2. All I'm saying is, when they had to have buckets, it seemed like Green took a couple of those shots.
Oh, you're right. He shot 1. Yeah.
And one was a 3, one was a 2. And both of those were huge sequences that if they had scored, it would have been different.
I'm looking at the play-by-play right now. He enters the game with 5 minutes left in the game. It's 106-103. Immediately enters the game, makes a bad pass.
What's your proposal here? What's your proposal here? You're going to take him out?
Wait,
take him out of the game?
No.
I'm not saying take him out. I'm not saying take him out.
Why are you hating on Draymond Green for one bad game?
I'm saying Jordan Poole needs to continue to play.
No. Why? He's a young player with no finals experience.
But I also think Draymond Green needs to continue to play. I think that we shouldn't overhaul our entire philosophy just because of one game result.
Ryan, could you put that picture up again that you had, that still shot?
Yeah. Let's let Cy have a say. We've been talking for an hour. Go ahead, Cy.
You're sitting here saying that, from one game, a player who was a catalyst for 5 straight NBA finals now needs to be punished, while a player who has
I never said that.
Finish, please.
Okay.
Please finish, Ryan.
Okay,
I'm going to leave here. You're pissing me off, man. Right. Let me finish, please, before I keep hearing you interrupt me. Draymond Green is a vitally important part of this team. You can criticize him for his shot selection tonight, but the solution is not to take him out. Jordan Poole has all of one good year under his belt for his entire career. And now you're sitting here saying in a series where if they lose game 2, it could be over. You're saying, let's just stick with Jordan Poole. Why? Because until this point, he's had a good season. I mean, I don't buy that.
Can I say that?
Wait, Larry, you gotta let me respond. So I didn't say one thing about Draymond not playing. I was simply pushing back that I don't think we should all of a sudden banish Jordan Poole to the bench. Draymond Green's the second most important player on this team. I'm just saying that he had just for reference, for like, you know, just like 1,000 feet up, you know, looking down, he had a worse game than Poole tonight. And I'm saying obviously Draymond's going to continue to well, no, turnovers fouls. I mean, he checked in with 5 minutes left and was god awful. But that's okay. I mean,
they were already losing at that point, Ryan. The game was already lost.
They were down 3.
Well, let's go to point 2 on this side. Wait a second, Dan. Hold on. Let's go to the second point, because your second point was sit Poole. So I agree with you. I wouldn't sit Green, but I also wouldn't sit Poole. And here's why.
Exactly.
Here's why I wouldn't sit Poole. Is because the one thing I've seen out of Moses Moody, and I agree, he's a bigger bodied guy, and he plays like a veteran. He's very calm. He's a good shooter, and I'm not worried about. But one thing I've noticed with Poole or with Moody is he defers to everybody else on the floor to a unnatural degree at this point, because he hasn't played a lot of minutes. So that would be my only concern, Si, if they made the switch from Poole to Moody. Is Moody feel like he's got enough comfort to have the green light to pull the trigger on some big shots with the shot clock winding down? That would be my one question to you. Do you think Moody has that poise?
I'm not saying that Moody should take all those Poole minutes, but what I am saying is you don't have a month to figure this out.
Right.
All right. So if you decide to stick with Jordan Poole and just hope that he somehow turns things around, it's going to be too late very fast. Okay. So if you're going to stick with Jordan Poole, a player who tonight did look lost. All right. That moment looked too big for him. There was nothing that showed me in that game that indicated to me that he belongs out there tonight. All right. I mean, so whether it's giving those minutes to Wiggins, whether it's giving those minutes to Otto Porter Jr., and then giving Iguodala extended run, whatever it is, if Jordan Poole plays like that again, you got to have a quick leash on him, because he is a huge reason why this team lost. I mean, you could blame Draymond Green for part of it. I don't doubt that. But again, the Warriors were leading 103-100 in that fourth quarter. They brought him back in when the tide was already stemmed. And Draymond Green, again, didn't have the greatest of games, but he also had his hands full with the Celtics defense that is incredibly good.
And part of their plan is to lure him to shoot. Let's be honest, right?
Well,
part of the Celtics plan is to lure Draymond Green into taking perimeter shots. So in a way, what we're really talking about here was a brilliant defensive game plan by Boston. Before you came on, Si, we showed a picture of a sequence. And the sequence basically had Green open in the corner. It had Iguodala wide open at the top. It had all the Celtics basically in the lane defensively all around Steph. And the two decent perimeter shooters were covered for Golden State. So that's all coaching. That's all prioritizing. I thought, I'm not saying that Udoka outcoached Kerr. I'll just say this. Udoka got his guys focused, and they were mentally dialed in for all 4 quarters.
But
I don't think Golden State was.
But the issue in this game, the reason why the Warriors lost, besides the fact that it was just a miracle shooting night for the Celtics, and it was, 9 for 12 from 3 in the fourth quarter, 51% shooting from 3 for the game. That is the highest numbers any team's put on the Warriors. I'm still waiting to see if that was a record that they set for fourth quarter shooting efficiency from beyond the arc, because it wouldn't surprise me if it was. But you need defense to stop that. The whole Warriors offense is predicated on defense, on making stops. When that team is hitting 3 after 3 after 3, the Warriors offense responds by facing the number 1 defense in the NBA with a half court set, instead of pushing the ball, instead of making plays on a defense that is not set. And Jordan Poole is not going to be the guy that turns that around defensively. You cannot take Draymond Green out. You can talk to him and say, stop putting those threes up, because he put up 4 for the game, which is more than what he should have. But At the
And
same
Green
time,
did take care of the ball. Here's the other thing. Green, at times, when he's struggled, hasn't taken care of the ball. In this game, he took care of the basketball. It wasn't
Yes,
like
he
he
did.
didn't take care of the basketball. He's taking care of the basketball. Is he forcing passes into tight quarters and getting – no, he didn't do that. What happened is that Boston's defensive plan was so disciplined and so well carried out that as the clock's rolling down and they're swinging it around, Green wound up open, and he felt, the open shot has to be taken sometimes, and he took a couple of them in sequences that, man, looking back on it, I would have loved to have had back and just a different look. But I agree. Green's your heart.
You live
You're
and die
not
with
sitting
him.
Green, but I don't know that I would sit Poole either, to be honest.
Well, I'd rather have Bielitsa out there. I'd even rather have right now. Why not?
I mean, okay, Bielitsa's had like playoff rounds where he's been horrible. Like Poole has had playoff rounds where he's been great.
One game of the playoffs he's been horrible.
All right, but Cyrus, let's just split. Let's say you were a Celtic, you were talking Celtics, and the Celtics lost this game tonight. We ended up holding on. Do you just say, "Oh, let's just not play Tatum tonight"? He didn't have it. Clearly, he doesn't have it.
What do you mean? I'm not following. What's your?
I'm saying that Jordan Poole has showed up for us in every round going forward.
No, he hasn't.
All of a sudden,
he's had a lot of bad games. He's had a lot of bad games in the playoffs. He's had a lot of bad games in the regular season.
He's saying every round. He's saying every round.
Every round.
He's 22 years old. He's a kid.
So we should play Moody, who's
there's what?
20. Here's what I want to say.
Rye's saying that you're being inconsistent because you're saying play Moody over Poole when Moody's younger than Poole.
Because I don't like to sit still when things don't go right.
Right.
Okay, like that's like if things aren't working, I want change. And Moody, for again, one, he hasn't in his moments of play, he doesn't turn the ball over. He's a stout shooter.
He doesn't force them.
I don't see any reason why you wouldn't play him because defensively he's better. The Warriors need better defense. That's where they lost tonight. Moody is a better defender than Jordan Poole. That is why I'm advocating for him. If he doesn't work out there, pull him out too. Keep trying things until they work. But
all right, then all I got to say is we better not sign Moody to this max contract we were all talking about in the offseason.
Hold on here. Let me say something. When I suggested that Moody should be in the lineup, when I suggested Moody should play, I wasn't talking about extensive minutes. I was talking about give him 5 minutes to see 4 or 5 minutes, see what he can do on Brown, because Poole was getting eaten up. Brown was driving past him and kicking it out to all those open threes because everybody was having to collapse on Brown. Now put that picture up real quick again. I'll show you something. What I want to point out, that still shot that you did, because if Iguodala is not in the game and that's Wiggins at the top of the 3-point line, when you put it up there, because this is what Boston did in the fourth quarter. What is it, 94-92, I think the score was at the time. Something like that. It was like 94-92, and there was like 8 minutes left in the game, and they made that run. And 94-92, 8:06. Okay, see, you got Iguodala up there on the top of the 3-point line. If that's Wiggins, he will drive down low. Steph will kick out of the lane and circle around, and Wiggins is either going to go in for a layup, or he can pull up for a 3, or even pull up at the top of the key for a 2 if the defense doesn't get onto him. But Boston is playing this defense because Green can't shoot in the corner. Iguodala is, he made the 1-3, but that's an anomaly, really. He's at best a 30% shooter at this point in his career. So I want to see Wiggins get to the hoop, because that's when things start happening. I don't know. I can't tell.
We're still talking offense. We're still talking offense here.
Yeah, but the offense, on offense, they lost the game in the fourth quarter with that lineup and not playing solid D, and they had no offense going, because all as they did, Boston, is say Clay's not going to beat us and Steph's not going to beat us. And you can't have two non-shooters.
Exactly.
And for some reason, Iguodala had a couple shots to drive to the hoop tonight, and he kicked it out. He didn't seem like Wiggins would have just went up and, monster slam, right? I didn't see. I saw tentativeness from Andre when he had a chance to drive to the hoop and just take a 2-2. And
what the coach, like you bring up, so I agree with you 100%. What the Warriors need out there for the rest of the series is two-way players.
Yes.
You need players out there who can play defense and who are offensive threats. You can live with having one player who's one-dimensional out there at a time. That chart, that whatever that video was you just showed, you're right. You cannot have Iguodala and Draymond playing on the court together. A huge reason why Bielitsa would sound better is because he is an offensive threat. He spaces the floor when he's out there. He can get rebounds. He was shocking at playing good defense on Luka Doncic. He has not had a single bad game in this postseason. For some reason, Kerr is very hesitant to play him, but I do think he could work. A reason why I advocate for Moses Moody is because Moses Moody in college was an outstanding three-point shooter. He is an outstanding three-point shooter. He's bigger and stronger than Jordan Poole. The only advantage Jordan Poole has is his playmaking abilities. He is great at attacking the rim, and I hate that I'm sounding like a Jordan Poole hater here because I'm not. But this is the NBA Finals. You don't have time for patience. If something doesn't work, you've got to mix it up. And I don't care if Jordan Poole's confidence gets affected in the process because I'm pretty sure he's mature enough to understand that the winning is the bottom line here. Moses Moody, if he's out there, can give you minutes on defense. He's not going to get burned in the process. You're right. He's not a huge playmaker, but you don't necessarily need that. You just need
I'm just worried about his ability to pull the trigger because he at times he's shown a hesitancy to pull the trigger. He understands that he's a young player, and it's like
his 3-point percentages in the playoffs.
No, I bet you it's good because he doesn't take any.
53.8%.
But how many has he taken?
13.
And how many games? That's not very many.
So
he's not taking a lot.
Postseason.
Yeah, I know. It's not a lot. It's not a lot per minute. I'm just saying he at times looks hesitant to pull the trigger.
Well, so what is making,
that would be my concern.
Jordan Poole look so great? I mean, I don't understand why you're advocating for Poole over Moody so much. I think Moody.
I mean, that's just straight up disrespectful to Poole. Like he's
not disrespectful. It is not disrespectful. It's the NBA Finals. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's more defense. To me, it's more about defense. I mean, we're talking about offense. We should be talking about defense.
They need to stagger their lineups better. And Cy, what do you think? Okay, I think we can find some middle ground here. So this is what I was saying about Green that I sort of thought at the beginning, which was weird. It's like I felt like the Celtics were like single covering Steph, and that was like the first time I've seen that in a very long time. They were playing drop coverage, and he lit him up. But the kind of weird, and I don't know if Udoka's like playing 3D chess or not, but the kind of weird consequence of that was that I'm so used to Draymond like bringing the ball off the floor, and like Curry's so double covered and everything, and like Draymond's got the ball in his hands, and like he's like that guy, like trying to get assists, playmaking, setting screens, and all that kind of stuff. And I made the analogy of like NBA 2K My Player, where you have certain builds. The Draymond Green build starts like his like on fire bar goes up when he gets assists and all of that kind of stuff, and that's how he gets his rhythm. I felt like he didn't have his rhythm tonight. How many times have we seen him just in the corner, like in the short corner to shoot a three? And we saw that like 3 times tonight. I haven't seen that in a very long time.
Well, part of that is just the Celtics. I mean, the Celtics are a big, strong team. I mean, Grant Williams was neutralized offensively because he's not a very good offensive player in general, but he is a big dude. Al Horford is a big dude. Robert Williams III is probably the strongest defensive player in the game. I mean, he's 6'9" of just pure rock, Draymond just can't muscle his way in like he's accustomed to with his team. So
he can't finish inside.
The Warriors are going to have 3 days to make adjustments. They're going to do nothing but study film, and they're going to make adjustments. I guarantee you Draymond Green's acumen is second to none in the NBA. I guarantee you the first person who's going to beat him up tonight and these next 2 days is going to be Draymond Green. He's going to realize what huge mistakes he made. I do not see him just sitting in that corner again like he did before. But I also think Kerr is going to realize, okay, playing Green and Iguodala together, disaster. Like that can't happen again. That is just a horrible lineup.
You're too easy to defend
anymore.
Yeah, you're too easy to defend. Okay, so let me just hit a couple of these on the chat so we can, Jaguayo 56 says $2. He says 120 points is too many to give up in the finals. We're talking a lot about offense, but we haven't really, that the unbelievable offensive performance by Boston has to be, at least that's the subplot here. You had two great defensive teams out there tonight, and Boston, I thought, executed their defensive strategy better than Golden State. And Golden State, it was like they didn't realize that White had gotten hot from three in the last round. And I'd like to see them hug up on him and take away the rest of his game, because I'm not fearful of him putting it on the deck going to the hole. But I am fearful of him catching shooting from three. And the same damn thing can be said about Horford. So to me, the adjustment that I want to see going into game two, I want to see those guys not allowed to step into very comfortable rhythm threes. I think that's number one. The other comment here we got to get mentioned here.
And it's worth noting too, Larry. Marcus Smart, the whole reason why Stephen Curry was open and was not double teamed is because the Celtics put all their faith in Marcus Smart defending him. Kudos to Stephen Curry for making them realize that's not going to work. And he had a great first half, but Smart played less minutes than White in this game. Like, just to put it in perspective, like that's how good Derek White was tonight.
Because they fed the hot hand. I mean, I thought the Warriors didn't feed the hot hand. Porter was the hot hand, and it was established that he was the hot hand, and yet he didn't get the ball where their hot hand got the ball.
Yeah, 23 minutes. Yeah.
Going back to Poole, I was noticing that he was getting manhandled on offense when they weren't letting him come off screens. They were giving him a shot to the chest. They kept and then when Poole did get the ball, it was like he had nowhere to go and he would force a shot. The difference between in a game like this where you have great 5 defenders with Boston, Moody works within the offense. He might pass it up because it's early in the shot clock, but Moody will take the shot. I've seen it over and over where he's got an open shot where it's later in the shot clock. He might pass that open shot up sometimes in the first 10 seconds of the shot clock. But what I was seeing tonight with Poole is he was coming off screens and just jacking up some shots that he wasn't square to the hoop, and he wasn't going to the rim either, Dan.
That's Rob Williams. Like that's the brutal thing about Rob Williams. He takes all
Rob Williams. They have got to figure a way to neutralize Williams down there, whether it's a pick down there.
I don't think we can. I think we honestly have to bank on him getting beat, like his knee kind of giving out a little bit.
Yeah, well,
I'm not that worried about the Warriors' offense. Honestly, it's they put up 108 in it, despite scoring only 14 in the fourth quarter. Right. Like that does not raise concern for me. The Warriors' offense is, for the most part, is fine, and a lot of their offense is predicated on your defense. Their defense failed in the fourth quarter. Like it just completely collapsed, largely because again the Celtics couldn't miss. Al Horford was. You read that sequence. It was just Horford 3, Horford 3, Horford 3, White 3, White 3, then Marcus Smart 3. It was just Pritchard, I think, might have hit a 3 in that run. It's just they clearly have to play better defense. I think the Warriors' offense was honestly fine. Clay should have played better, but and they have no disrespect to Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole will someday be a great player, but you have the final. You're in the NBA Finals. Jordan Poole showed nothing tonight that instills confidence in me that he can turn this around. If he's playing like this again at the start of game 2, all I'm saying is you got to pull that leash. 25 minutes is too much for a player when he's only getting you 9 points for that, when he's only giving you 2 assists and 2 rebounds for that, and over nearly half his points are from free throws. He threw also some turnovers away. He had 4 turnovers. He led the team in plus minus in terms of the minus side of things. This was a horrible game. And if he plays like this again, you can't just leave him out there because, he's done great for us all year. Like, and I hate saying us, but you got to.
Yeah, we hear you. We hear you. You're saying, hey, this is the finals. It'll be over before it starts. React quickly.
Yes.
I'll say this. Okay, first of all, Haha donates $5. Says, Krueg, before this happened, you called exactly what was going to happen and the reaction. I remember you said we're still going to win the series. Oh, yeah. I definitely thought Boston was going to win game one.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, he did.
I said it. I said I like Boston in game 1.
6.
I like Warriors in game 2. I like Warriors in game 3. I like Boston in game 4. I like a 2-2 series going back to Boston or back to Golden State for game 5. And I think Golden State wins in game 5 and then wins game 6 in Boston and ends it there. But the part of this game that really kind of is bothersome to me is that Boston has no point guard. They don't have a facilitator. When you don't have a point guard and you've got an on-the-ball defender like a Payton, now granted, we don't know if they have him, right? Tonight they didn't have him. One of the reasons I like Golden State to win it in 6 is I thought that Gary Payton would force Boston into a higher percentage of turnovers, and that Golden State's mass turnovers, have been minimized since, really going back to the Memphis series. They were turning it over way early against Denver and early against Memphis. They cured themselves of that. Draymond's not forcing passes. They're taking better care of the ball. They took better care of the ball tonight, even against a really good defense. But what they're not doing is they're not getting a Boston team that has no point guard. They're not turning them over at the rate that I thought they would turn them over. And to me, one of my reasons for picking Golden State in 6 was I could envision 15 to 20 turnovers by harassing and haranguing Marcus Smart and whatever guys they want to handle the ball. We didn't see it tonight. Mm-hmm. And that to me makes me want to see Gary Payton. Now, obviously Gary Payton, I think with the elbow and in no reps, he probably can't shoot at all. So if you put him out there, it's like 4-on-5 defensively. On the offensive end, you're trying to beat 5 with 4, but I think he's such an impact guy defensively that I need to see him D'ing up Smart and forcing 4 or 5 more turnovers. I think that's the adjustment for game 2. Give me your guys' thoughts on that.
Well, just to add to that, Larry, Gary Payton, even when he's healthy, has never been someone who is necessarily like a threat from a shooting perspective. I mean, his corner threes are actually better than people realize. Is underrated there, but Gary Payton's always been about his inside game, like lobs.
He's a finisher.
And he could still do that even if his elbow's bad. So you're right. I'm very worried him not playing tonight, because I do feel like if he was okay, Kerr would have played him. I mean, he was needed. He was definitely needed. Yeah, I'm concerned. I don't know if we're going to see him this series.
I think he might be back Sunday, because the comments he made on Tuesday was, I'm not to my full self yet. I'm getting closer. So I think a few more days. This was Tuesday. Now we're Thursday. Next game Sunday. What I would like to see the Warriors do when it comes to Payton and, let's focus on talking about Jaylen Brown. Wiggins, when he's in the game, when Brown's in there, I want to see Wiggins on him. And if Wiggins is on the bench, I'd like to see Payton, if he's available, guarding Brown when Wiggins is not in there, because the offense tonight was running through Brown. Now we're talking about the Warriors doing adjustments. Boston's going to adjust probably too and come out with a whole different plan. They might be running through Tatum. They might post up Tatum down low and have him shoot over who's ever guarding him, which he's totally capable of doing, because he's got that great turnaround shot. He can shoot from 3. He can drive. And I don't know who the Warriors have really to guard, if they could put Green on him. But I like Porter in the game because he's 6'10". He can guard Tatum. And as Cy said, you can also give Bielisa 5 to 6 minutes. Give him a shot at Tatum for a little bit and see what he can do if Porter's out. Because it's all about matchups.
Yes.
Boston is very tough on the Warriors because of their length. Mm-hmm. They're similar to Memphis, but I think they're more athletic than Memphis. I think they are quicker than Memphis. Memphis has Bane and Jackson and Adams
Brooks.
and Dylan Brooks. But you look at Boston, it's Brown, it's Tatum, it's Smart. Smart is their Draymond Green. I mean, he calls the defense and he's tough. And what's amazing, like you said, they didn't even White played more minutes than him, and he was in the game down the stretch, and he got the hot hand. So, yeah, I think there's going to be adjustments made on both sides, and it's, we're talking only Golden State's got to make adjustments. Boston's going to do something different too.
By the way, Central Valley King donates $4.99. He says, I love how critical you guys are and how you guys do not make excuses. Great job, fellas. And then Kevin F says, yes, great critiques, unlike the radio shows. Well, I'll say this. I mean, come on. I mean, we've been doing this since I joined us for the post game. He's been with us at the end of every post game, this entire run.
Except
Danny, except for because of the COVID, but Danny and Rye have been along for the ride too, every post game. So we all know each other pretty well. We're all rooting for Golden State to get it done. There's just no doubt, and there's no ambiguity to that. And if you think otherwise, you're wrong. I'm rooting for Golden State. Ryan's got a jersey on. Danny's got is that a Warriors shirt on?
No,
Sai's got a Warriors shirt. We're all rooting for Golden State, but I'm not going to make excuses for anybody. I mean, I'm not here to bury anybody, but there's no chance in hell I'm going to sit here and make excuses for why they lost. But it does. I did think Boston would win game one, and I knew it would be this emotional thing because Golden State had been undefeated at home, and there was kind of a feeling of invincibility, and that they were a little invincible at home, and they're still a young team, and they're still a team that kind of gets into lulls and bad sequences, and they don't focus all the time. So to me, I don't see Golden State as being so dominant. And now you got Boston rolling in with a lot of momentum. So I just think this is going to be a good series. I also think the league is invested in it being a long series, and I think that's another reason I kind of like Boston to win game one. I just felt like it would be a better series.
Larry, look at you.
Well, no, I'm not saying it. I'm not saying conspiracy. I'm not saying there were bad calls. I think there were a couple of calls that didn't go against Golden State tonight, but nothing. I thought the game was pretty fairly and well officiated. I don't know. Why don't we start right there? Did you think it was well officiated? Because I thought overall it pretty much was.
Yeah, they weren't a factor. I mean, anytime the officials are not a factor, they did a job. If you're focusing in on, oh man, the officials, if you were so bad because there were so many controversial calls, there really wasn't. They missed a couple on Steph, but I think the Warriors had some fouls down low too, where Boston got hacked and they didn't call it. So, I just think that series are about matchups. And I hear what Sai's saying about Poole. Poole had a tremendous season. He's had some great playoff games, but it was also about matchups where he could get open, he could get his shot, he could drive to the hoop. I think he's having a little tougher time, and you might need a little bit more physicality.
Yes.
And we're not saying Moody should take all of his minutes, but I would like to see Moody maybe get a few of his minutes just to see what he does out there, because I think it changes the focus and the feel of the whole game. And GP2, remember, we talk about his defense. He's also a big offensive rebounder. He gets down low and he's got hops. If you get him the ball down low if he cuts in from the corner, he can take it to the hoop straight at Williams. And if Williams comes at him, he could dish off to somebody else for an easy layup or dunk. There's a lot that the offense can do differently versus just hoisting threes that are not high percentage threes.
Do you want to hear from Draymond Green?
Can we do that?
Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Well, let's see here.
If it's just audio, I think we're good.
Or do you think that rhythm was a factor?
Turn it up a little bit. Your mic on it.
Oh, I'm not sharing. Is it? Are you seeing it?
It's low. Maybe you put your mic on it.
I doubt it. Oh, I got to take this off. Oh, So I'm sorry.
Don't play that. Just don't play it. We don't need to play it. Just tell us what he said.
Oh, okay. Well, he just basically said that they dominated the game for the first 41 to 42 minutes and that they're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Draymond had a high profile quote at the beginning of the game and before the game, and I think his line was, "No one has ever beaten us whole ever."
Right.
Yeah, it's true. I've been saying that for a while. This would be the first time. They're going to have to dig deep here. They're going to have to show some resiliency. They're going to have to play with some poise because you can beat Boston. They're beatable, but you know what they don't do? They don't beat themselves. They really don't.
Okay, Larry,
pretty well coached team.
For a challenge flag. I mean, we Miami series. They basically they were like Miami. Please steal.
They beat Miami 3 times in Miami.
I know, but 3 minutes left, up 13. And
Marcus Smart. I'm not saying they're a perfect basketball team. I think they're beatable. I'm just saying that they play smart basketball. And at this point tonight, they came to chase with a game plan and executed it, both ends of the floor, on a night where Tatum really wasn't going, and he's their guy. I mean, if you're Boston, you're feeling cocky. Why? Because you just took one from Golden State. Steph had a monster first quarter, and Tatum did not have anything close to his best game, and you're up 1-0. So they're feeling good. But they know Golden State's going to fire a big effort in game 2. I imagine Boston will let it all hang out and play loose, but I think Golden State will wind up getting that win. Hey guys, I think game 3 is going to be the interesting game when it goes back to Boston, and how exactly do the Warriors play in that cauldron with all those fans screaming. Other teams went in there in these playoffs and beat them there, so it can happen. But it's the intensity that their fans bring is incredible. What are we looking at here?
Okay, so we're looking at, just because we're talking defense. So these are all 3. This is kind of debunking, oh, they got lucky with these 3s. But the fact is, we did allow for wide open 3s, even with our best guy. You don't see Jordan Poole on this floor right now. It's Curry, Iguodala, Porter, Clay, Draymond, Jaylen Brown, open corner 3. Okay, we've got Porter, Draymond, Looney, Clay, and Steph. Wide open Pritchard 3. We've got wide open
Pritchard. You can't leave open like that.
No, wide open Horford 3. Same group, our defensive group. Another wide open 3, our defensive group. Another wide open 3, our defensive group.
Yeah,
but again, I want to see the.
It's great. It's great that you're showing that, because it really that was a major factor. Not only did Boston get hot from 3. But Golden State did not put up a lot of resistance on those 3s.
There's 2 things to add to that, though. One is I want to see the looks from Derek White and Al Horford, because those are the 3s that kill the Warriors. Pritchard went 2 for 3. Marcus Smart went 4 for 7. Great. I mean, those are hot nights, but those fourth quarter 3s from White and from Horford is what murdered him.
Yep.
Secondly, wide open or not, 51% is absurd. Even if they're wide open, teams do not normally hit at that clip, let alone 8.
That can't continue. That won't continue.
Honestly, though, not to be a downer, but it's kind of almost it's sort of what we were expecting at some point in the Dallas series. They were allowing a lot of wide open 3s versus Dallas.
It happened in game. Was it 4?
We allowed it. Yeah, in game 4. But also, I mean, we had. I mean, the shot quality, that shot quality stat or whatever, they had us losing a few of those games based on the normal percentages from how open their looks were. So we've been allowing 3s. I mean, to be honest, if you told me going into this game that, we're going to allow Al Horford and Derek White and Jaylen Brown to be hucking these 3s down, then, I mean, I think a lot of us would have taken it. And honestly, I think Draymond I listened to his podcast with Jason Tatum. He has so much respect for Tatum. It's actually really cool. He told Tatum basically bro, you're next on Team USA. You're the guy. You're the guy. And he basically said, if you don't win MVP next year, you're a P word. That's basically what he said to him. I almost wonder if we didn't maybe spend a little bit too much effort on trying to shut him down versus
Well,
how.
no, but I credit Tatum on the other hand. He knew it wasn't his night, and instead of forcing it, he said, "I'm gonna be a distributor." And there were several times tonight where the shot clock's ticking down, and he didn't just make a pass. He made the perfect pass to the perfect guy at the, and if you look at those passes, guys, those perimeter shooters weren't grabbing it and bringing it. Wasn't anything. It was like right here. Everything was right here. So, I mean, the accuracy on Tatum's passes and the maturity to say, you know what? It's not necessarily my flow off. I'm not in my normal flow offensively. So I'm going to defer. I'm going to find open guys. I thought it showed that he's maturing as a player. I thought he was phenomenal tonight. On a night when he wasn't feeling it offensively. What's that? 13 assists.
I mean, that's absurd.
Crazy.
That is crazy. But it still comes down to ultimately, I mean, if Al Horford is going to go 6 for 8 from 3, if Derek White's going to go 5 for 8 from 3, I don't think there's just much you could do. I mean, players don't normally hit that level of accuracy, wide open or not. You're right. You could get in their face and make it more difficult, but that was just incredible. I mean, I dare you to find one person out there who listed that as the reason for the Celtics winning this game tonight, because it was an anomaly, Larry, as a word you've used quite a few times. That applies here. That was an anomaly, and I do expect the Warriors to adjust and bounce back. Everything they're saying in the post-game clips, from what I'm seeing here, there's no panic on their end. Klay Thompson. First of all, this is the third time since the Dynasty era started that the Warriors have lost game 1 of a playoff series. Can you name the other two?
2019.
That's one. Against the Raptors.
The playoff series?
Yes.
I think we lost to the Clippers in 2018. No?
Was it
No, you're right. You named one of them
Houston?
correct.
Was it Houston?
No.
Cavs 2016?
Oh,
Memphis?
Memphis?
On the right track.
Memphis in 2015?
Cavs 20. It was Cavs. One of the Cavs series. It was no. Did they win all first game?
Yeah, this is the third time they've ever in the Dynasty area lost game 1. They lost game 1 to the Raptors, and then they lost in 2016 to the Thunder in a series that they found themselves down 3-1 before they came back. So they're 1-1 after starting series 0-1, and we're gonna find out now if it's gonna be winning or losing records.
Hey, we said we all picked the Warriors in either 6 or 7, right?
I said 5, but if they're healthy, I'm going to get crap for that.
The fact is, we knew the Warriors are going to lose at least 2, maybe 3 in the series. So there's 1. So it's not, the series is not anywhere near over, and none of us are saying that. We're just saying we know it's going to be a tough series.
Well, now it's just you got to get game 2. I mean, you can't go down 0-2. I mean, what's the numbers on that? How many teams in the history of the finals have lost 2 at home and 1?
Well, just last year. But
the first 2? They lost the first 2 at home?
I don't know if they were at home though, but
they were in
were they? I guarantee it hasn't happened a lot. You got to win that second one. There's a lot of urgency now on game 2 for sure. But you know what? Golden State will respond. As I said, a little bit of an anomaly. Warriors coaching staff is still fantastic. There's every guy in that room's got a ring. They'll come up with a game plan. They'll execute their game plan. We'll go back to Boston in a 1-1 series. That's what I think is going to happen. But Jaguayo 56 donates $2. He says it's big boy basketball. Kerr has to trust his guys. What do you guys think? Is there any? If you could make one adjustment going into game 2 in your Kerr, what is that adjustment? Who wants to go first? Cy?
I want to see Moses Moody in the game just because defensively he is solid. He showed enough to me in the Maverick series that he has the poise. I mean, that's a word that I'm going to use and again, I'm not hating on Jordan Poole, man, but he did not show poise in game 1 tonight. And if he comes out similarly in game 2, where he's getting stripped repeatedly, where he's trying to attack the rim and is not getting by his defender, that's what alarmed me the most about Poole. Is typically when he attacks the rim, he blows by his opposition. Like, people cannot stay in front of him. Boston was staying in front of him. And if that happens, either you got to be creative with your passing, or you got to hit your open look, because if they're going to stay in front of you, you can easily take a step back and hit a jumper. He wasn't doing either. So if he's going to start like that again, the adjustments I want 6 more minutes from Wiggins. Wiggins has got to be a 40-minute a night guy for this team, not 34. Stephen Curry has to be a 40-minute a night guy as well. I need either less Andre Iguodala minutes, or I need more Otto Porter Jr. minutes. I don't know if I'm at a point yet. Look at all these spammers, by the way, trying to hit
A lot of spammers.
yeah, so it's all distracting. I'm like naked girls as I'm trying to talk. So point is, Kuminga. I don't know if we're at a point where like the Kuminga is a weird one. Here's the crazy one. As weird as this sounds, I might get flack for this, but I would not be entirely opposed to even seeing Damian Lee out there. Like, this is when you might need a veteran who will not fold, will not make mistakes under pressure. He's a streaky shooter, but when he hits shots, he's really good. And but ultimately, I want Wiggins on Jaylen Brown. I saw something there, and even though Wiggins was primarily assigned to Jason Tatum in this game, when the switches happened and Wiggins was on Brown, Brown was neutralized. I mean, Jaylen Brown for this game did not shoot great from 3. I think he was 2 for 7 or 2 for 8 from 3. So I don't mind that matchup. I want to see more of that. Here's the one perplexing thing, and I think will be a great discussion, is what do you do with Kevon Looney? Like, was that a good game? Like, were you happy with Kevon Looney? That's the part I'm confused about. Like, I don't know if he played the right amount of minutes. I don't know if he was a liability out there. He was grabbing some huge rebounds, but at the same time, he wasn't doing much either. So I don't know. What do you do with Looney?
I think you got to get him more involved offensively. I mean, if you look at one of the parts of the stat sheet that's bothersome here, it's the points in the paint. And yes. Boston, I think, was plus 10 or plus 8 points in the paint. And I think they could, Boston's a really good defensive team, but I think you've got to make them feel like you can score in the lane, so there's some penalty to them, sitting on the perimeter and closing out on your 3-point shooters. So if they're going to give Looney room, then I would suggest drive in and drop it to Looney for some bunnies and some 2-footers and some dunks and some easy points. I'd like to see Golden State get a few more points in the lane in game 2. I also think that it's really imperative that Golden State turn Boston over, and also that Golden State get out and get a few more buckets in transition. Why is that a big deal? Because when you're playing a better defensive team, when it goes from transition to the half court, it becomes more difficult to score in the half court against the better defensive teams. Boston is a tremendous defensive team and their assignment sound. So I think one of the key elements of game 2 is get some buckets in transition, score in transition. Do not allow them every time down the floor to set up their defense. If you do, I think you're just making it harder on yourself. I'm not saying go reckless, but you've got some speed here. You've got some better ball handlers, especially if you're going to continue to play pool. Get out and run. Get out and get some easy looks and some easy buckets. That would be my one adjustment, is see if you can get some more points in transition so that you're not having to grind in the half court against one of the best defensive clubs in the entire league. That's my adjustment.
I will say, Poole. Oh, I was going to just say anti-Poole. Because I'm not going to argue that Poole was good this game at all. I mean, there was a few times where it was like Warriors get a steal and like we're pushing out in transition, and especially it was like when Steph was in Fuego, and it was like, oh my God, we're about to just pitch it back to Steph. We've seen this a million times. Get it 3, and then like a Poole just does something dumb, like throws it away, or he chucks up a 3, just ruins the rhythm of the game. So I just want to say that.
What do you think of this comment, guys, from Mr. Ali? Klay Thompson is half of what he was 2 years ago.
Half? No.
What do you see with Klay Thompson? Because the one thing it seems like with Klay Thompson is the shots that he's taken a lot of in his career, coming off pin downs on off a screen, where he doesn't have to think at all. those shots are down. I mean, it's like I'd like to see a few more of those shots where you run Clay off a screen, because it just seems like he's had such repetitions of that's still part of his. Those shots go down at a seemingly a high clip. It's some of the other shots where he's dribbling, creating room, and then hoisting. I don't like. I'd rather you see him more on catch and shoot threes. Give me your guys' thoughts on what you're seeing from Clay.
I just think he's defensively, his lateral movement's not quite where it was before the injuries, and that affects being able to stop guys' penetration, where he used to be a shutdown. He was an all NBA defensive player prior.
Yes, he was.
And so I think that's where his game's not at 100%. I mean, he even admitted it the other night. I'm not back to where I was defensively, I believe he said on national TV. But I think his offensive game, some of it's the lateral stuff that he's not able to do with power. His shot is still fine, but he used to be able to drive to the hoop a lot more and go up even for a slam over a guy. And he's done it a little bit this year, but I think it's just he's lost just that tiny little bit. He hasn't got it all the way back yet, that burst that he used to have. And he's never like a super fast guy, but he's deceptively has a little bit more prior to had a burst that he doesn't have back yet. So that's where I see Clay lacking from prior, but I still think he's better than anybody else that you could really put out there that the team has. So
yeah, I agree. And I just want to look, Clay did hit some big threes tonight. I mean, there were moments where he looked really good. Where he failed, in my opinion, tonight is that he's been making up for whatever deficiencies he currently has with the intangibles, the extras, like rebounding, for example. And he didn't do that tonight. He had 1 rebound tonight total, and that was an offensive rebound, which tells me that, he was, I don't know what he was doing on the defense rebounding side of things, because that's one thing that the Warriors have been beating other teams with throughout this entire postseason is rebounding, shockingly, but they have been. And tonight that number was tied. They were even, I think, 39 apiece. So for him to have just 1 rebound, for him to have just 15 points in 38 minutes of play, yeah, that's going to have to improve. I'm not hitting a panic button right now, simply because, again, the Warriors entered the fourth quarter leading by 12. And in that fourth quarter, the Celtics started the fourth quarter with a 9-0 run. And then later in the quarter, they had a 17-0 run.
Right.
And those were all from those threes. So I do think the Warriors will adjust. I don't think Boston's can keep that level of shooting up. But one thing that did disappoint me, and this is where Kerr's going to have to make some adjustments, is the Warriors entered this series as the deeper team. That was considered to be one of the clear advantages they have over the Celtics, that they can go 11-12 on the bench and constantly get production and stay fresh. But the Celtics went deeper in their bench tonight than the Warriors did. Like, the Celtics gave 6 minutes to Daniel Tice.
Yeah.
The Warriors gave 12 minutes to Andre Iguodala as their 8th man, and that's as deep as they went.
Yeah,
Daniel Tice was their. What's up?
Yeah, I was surprised. I was counting them. They only went 8 really deep.
He only went 8. And so that tells me like why is Moody not getting minutes? Why is Bielitsa not getting minutes? Gary Payton II, I would like some sort of answer on that, unless they want to keep playing these mind games. I don't know if anyone asked Kerr about this in the post game, and if they didn't, shame on them. That should be one of the first questions you ask. But that's where, if Kerr got out coached in this game, it was in failing to realize that you have a deep bench with a lot of different options there. And if something's not working, make the adjustment, because in the fourth quarter, it just seemed like they just kept making 3 after 3 after 3, and Kerr just sat there, just looking like I didn't see anything adjusted for that. So we'll be interested to see what happens in game.
And
game
Larry, you made the comment earlier that you thought the Warriors looked a little bit tired, almost out of like rusty. And I was surprised, to kind of follow back up on Cy. I anticipated before the series that the Warriors would use their depth to really, really pressure Boston all over the court.
Yes.
And then just bring guys in and out that are not the role players. Give them a 4-minute burst of just intense defense. and then sit them out, bring the other guys in. If you have 10, 12 guys that are just attack, it wears that team down. And because you need to wear them down when they're on offense so that they're not so strong on defense. Because Boston, if they don't have to play as hard on the offensive end to get their shots, which they didn't, obviously, in the fourth quarter, they were wide open. And that's because we only went 8 deep and didn't have our best defenders guarding Jaylen Brown in the clutch. And I really go back to that because I believe it's got to be Wiggins on Brown or GP2 if he's available. And if he's not, give some of those minutes to Moody, because Moody's got to – I keep going back to this, but he's 6'5", but his arms are like massive. He's got a 7'1" reach. And Jordan Poole is what, 6'3" with a 6'7" reach,
like 6'4". He's 6'4", but you're right. He's not.
He's only got a 6. He's only got like a 6'7.5" reach, but Jalen's 6'7", and and he can move. So you've got to shut him down and make him. And then if you can shut him down,
my concern is that they haven't gone to Moody enough, and that now if they go to him here. This late in the year, that they might be asking too much.
I would agree with you if he wasn't playing in that Mavericks series. But when you look at his numbers in that Mavericks series, especially the last 3 games, he was solid. He surprised me in terms of how well he excelled. That was enough, at least from an eye test perspective. And again, the numbers showed it. He was 7 for 13 from 3. That was not primarily garbage time either, but his defense was really good, and he weighs 215 pounds. He's a bulky dude out there. And that's
wasn't
what you
he in
need
the
against
closing minutes of game 2? Was it?
Yes, he was.
So they had him
3
in there.
maybe, but
one of the games that they won, it was a tight game, and he was in crunch time.
Yes.
I mean, how many times in this playoff run has Moses Moody played double-digit minutes? How many games?
You don't need him for double-digit minutes, though, Larry.
I'm just wondering how many times has he even played 10 minutes?
I don't know. I'll have to look it up real quick. I'll look it up real fast.
If you had to guess, just off the top of your head, what would be your guess?
1.
Yeah, maybe 1, maybe 2.
Yeah.
That would be my guess. So it might be asking a lot in the finals, but I agree with it. Consider everything, right? Consider everything. Talk it over, think it over, consider everything. Vicky here, I think, is a pretty good point. She says Boston was overly aggressive on defense in the paint. Need more pump fakes in the paint to get a foul and go to the line. I think that was another area where Golden State didn't. They left some points out there. Pump fake. Go draw some fouls. Go to the line. Shoot more free throws than your opponent. That's always a good thing. One I want to get. One here from GTC Reels. He said, right now, Vontigo Cummings is like, where can I find a backer like Ryan? How do you wear down this defense? That one makes me laugh.
I don't even know who that is.
Vontigo Cummings is
Warriors player, man.
Old second round pick of the Warriors. We did see something that we haven't discussed yet, and that was at one point in the second half, Kerr went to the zone. What do you think of the zone as an option against Boston? What did you think of the way it worked? Because it seemed like it made Boston a little bit less eager to drive, and it seemed like it balanced the floor and made them. It seemed like they had a better chance closing out on perimeter shooters in the zone than they did in man. I don't know. They didn't go with it for a long period of time. What did you think about it? What did you think when he went to it? And do you think that's something we may see again?
I think you might see a little box and one if Peyton's available. You might see
one on Hume.
Brown. I think Brown's the guy you got to. I mean, Tatum is obviously their best player, but Brown is their slasher, the guy that can shoot the 3. He's the guy they seem to be running through. I'm not worried about Marcus Smart. He made some shots tonight, but and White, he made those shots, but like you said, what is he, a 26%, did you say, Cy, for the rest of the playoffs at 3-point range?
Derek White, regular season 31%, postseason. I don't know if that includes tonight. I think it includes tonight. He's under 27% from 3, and he went out there tonight and went 5 for 8. It was just crazy.
How about this one? How about this? Kevin F says White, Horford, Smart. made 15 of Boston's 21 threes. They'll be fine. So he's
That's
looking
not
at it as a
entirely
pure
accurate.
aberration. But I will say this, White and Horford are in a great space right now as far as their rhythm on those threes. So the same way you've got to disrupt the rhythm of a great perimeter shooter, you still need to disrupt the rhythm of a hot perimeter shooter. And that would be my concern. I expect Smart to make these shots because Smart to me looks like an all NBA player against Golden State. Every time I see Smart, I just feel like I'm watching one of the great players in the league. And then you look at his percentage and you're like, wait a second, this guy makes like 30% from three, but against Golden State, he's raining them down. How does that work? He's just such a clutch player and he elevates in the biggest moments. But White and Horford, they're in a real flow. We've now seen this in these playoffs as they've progressed. Those guys are locked in, and it looks beautiful coming off their hand. So, and Horford at 6'9", 6'10", man, it's hard to close out on a 6'9" guy who shoots threes the way he's shooting them right now. So they're going to have to make sure they extend their defense on White, on Horford, that they're cognizant of where those guys are spotting up. And that means, if that means you're giving Tatum and Brown more room to operate, then you may just have to roll the dice with that. And because you can't go another game where you're giving White and Horford and Smart wide open threes and all that room and not making them feel your defensive pressure at all. I never, Horford stepped into that shot like he was sitting there at 3:00 in the afternoon and there wasn't anybody in the gym. I mean,
pissing me off is what it was doing, man.
Make him feel your defensive pressure.
Did you know
both those guys feel you?
Did you know this game set the record for most threes made in a finals game?
Really?
That's incredible.
That doesn't. I mean, honestly, both teams shot it really well. Like, if we're stepping it back, and let's say we're like not Warriors or Celtics fans, like this was a great game, like very high level basketball from the jump. Also, I will say about like Horford and so I didn't run this one by you, Cy, but I was saying, and maybe it's stupid, but like, okay, Fred VanVleet, if you remember in the 2019 playoffs, was horrible. I just looked up his stats before having a baby. Stupid thing to say, maybe. Before having his baby, this was his stats in 10 games. He was shooting 15% from the field, averaging 2.4 points per game. Has a baby, and my theory on this was like Derek White was really struggling shooting wise, and it's one of those things where it's like, you know, all of a sudden it's kind of scary, like, you know, your wife's gonna have a baby anytime, like that's kind of more above basketball. All of a sudden that happens, and it's like, okay, what are an NBA fine? Like, that's no longer the most important thing in my life. Like, I just had a kid. Like, things change, perspective changes. Since then, in those finals, after those lovely stats I just read you, he was 15 a game, shooting 60% from the field and 57% from three. So I'm just, and that's the end of the Milwaukee series and the entire finals. That's the scary thing, and that's where I guess I understand your Poole point, where the margin of error is now, it's no longer a season. We've got 6 more games left. So if if Horford, does it really matter what the names are if they're stroking threes and they're in a rhythm? So yeah, to that point, I understand. Also, I will say though, as I just walked away and got my charger / bathroom break, I had like a sudden breath of clarity where I was like, you know what? I think the Dubs are going to handle this. I'm actually not that concerned.
I'm not super concerned. I mean, to put it in perspective, I mean, Kerr told reporters after the game that it's going to be tough. Quote, it's going to be tough to beat Boston if they're making 21 threes and they're getting a combined 11 from Horford and White. And that's just the bottom line, man. Like, you know, you have to give the Celtics credit. There just isn't much you could do about that. You know, it's like if you're playing in a Super Bowl, this is where it's really lucky that it's a 7-game series. Like, if it's sometimes great teams lose in Super Bowls for this. Yeah. I mean, sometimes great teams lose in Super Bowls for this reason. Another team just gets really hot at a really amazing time, and there's just not much you can do about that. I'm just confident that the Celtics will not be able to do that 3 more times this series.
What
I
do you,
hope I'm
what do you
correct.
think of this? GTC Real says Jordan Poole just needs to have a baby, and then he says, "I don't think we can rush a baby in 2 weeks." What about an adoption? All right, maybe before Sunday.
Yeah, I'm talking
You know?
adoption. I'm talking puppy, maybe even. Like I take a puppy bump.
There's go through the adoption process, see if you can add a child before Sunday. Maybe that will change his rhythm. He'll be so proud that he's a father, and he'll just erupt and carry the Warriors to the title. No, anyone? Bueller?
Have you guys seen the show Winning Time yet? By the way,
No, you mean with the Laker thing?
yeah.
I saw the trailer for it. I mean, I saw the ads for it and stuff on HBO, but I haven't seen any of the episodes.
Phenomenal.
Really good.
And as long as you go into it knowing the character portrayals are fictionalized, I was talking to Rick Barry about it, and Rick was like, "See, he watched the first 4 episodes, and he said he was really sensitive to it because this was during his playing days, and he hated the character portrayals of Jerry West, especially. West has come out publicly and said he might sue HBO and the producers for the way he's portrayed. If you can put that aside, it is one of the best TV shows I've ever seen in my life, especially if you love basketball. And the reason why I think of it right now is because Magic, I mean, spoiler alert, the Lakers won the title in 1980. But it's spoiler alert, Magic Johnson, a rookie, was the MVP of that series. So the whole point is like
he tipped center for Kareem, who got hurt.
Yes, he did.
And he scored 42 with
Philly.
14 rebounds and 7 assists as a
Game
rookie.
Game 6 in on the road
in Philly in the Spectrum. Yeah. I mean, what I
don't know is true is whether or not David Stern took Kareem's MVP award away behind the scenes and gave it to Magic as a marketing thing. I don't know if that's true or not. That was implied, but regardless. But my point is, rookies can step up, man. I want to see Moody. I want to see him out there. And if it doesn't work, take him out. But let's just see him for a little bit. I mean, because his size.
What does Nick Oren say? That's what I want to know. Right? Isn't he the guy that had the great adjustment years ago? And Nick Oren.
Oh yeah,
remember that?
Put in Iguodala, start Iguodala.
Yes.
Let's see what Nick Oren says, and then whatever Nick Oren says, let's go with it. Did you talk to Rick Barry in the post game tonight?
Not tonight. No, we
so
did 2 shows.
Who did you talk to on your locked on situation before you joined us? Who did you visit with?
Myself. I was just solo. I just
solo.
I just did
if Rick gave you his perspective or anybody gave you their perspective on. So it was just you, state of the state on the locked on. It wasn't.
Yes, just like how you have your comments, I had mine.
Okay. And what were people basically saying?
Yeah. What were people saying?
People are freaked out. It's like doom and gloom to a lot of people, and I had to remind people like
you knew they would be.
Game, it's the Warriors were down 2-1 in 2015. Like I see this team very much like the 2015 team, and they were down 2-1 to the Cavaliers. They were down 2-1 to the Grizzlies. They've and the fact that in the post game Draymond Green and Kerr are saying these things, it's one game. I'm not hitting a panic button. Yeah. You had some Celtics fans jumping in there talking all the smack, and I had to remind them. Yeah, ride your high horse of Al Horford and Derek White, because that's going to keep happening. Although Ryan, now that you keep throwing those Derek White numbers at me post baby, it's freaking out a little more. But
okay, now this is when the question has to be asked: would you guys give Jordan Poole max money?
It's like a game by game situation.
It's tough. It's tough. We got to. I think we all
give him max money
after he has a child. After he has a child, I will.
I'll tell you what, I'd rather Wiggins at this point for sure. I mean, Wiggins has been probably the most consistent. I kind of think he's maybe the most consistent two-way player they've had starting in the Dallas series. And all.
Well, you have conspiracy, Larry. Conspiracy in this case? I'll take on the persona conspiracy Cyrus. Instead, I'll go cynical Cyrus.
Yeah,
and cynical Cyrus says Joe Lacob is doing this because he's saving tens of millions of dollars on Jordan Poole right now, and if the series goes 7, that is a buttload of extra money coming in from ticket sales and concessions. 4 years, 100 mil sounds right. I think not max.
Was a 6-7 game series from the outset. So
yeah,
we just see it. All the experts, if you look at the ESPN, I know it was like 16-5 Warriors.
Okay.
right? But most of those were 6 or 7 Warriors.
But also half, if not 70% of those people also picked the Mavs versus the Warriors. I feel like everybody got burned by that. So they were so wrong on that then they were like jumped on the Warriors after. Also, Jordan Poole is for perspective. Although I agree, if he has another bad game, like something's got to give. But he's 18.5 on 55% shooting from the field in the playoffs, 38 from 3, 91 from the line. I mean, obviously, he's a horrible defensive player. I saw a stat that the Celtics had 160 offensive rating with Clay and Poole on the court at the same time tonight. So that is not good.
I was looking at some prop bets before the game, and there was one that said 9 threes. It was like 80 plus 850, and I was like so close to taking that bet.
Stat.
One player getting nine threes or more in a game, and I was like, I was so close to hitting it, taking it, and then I didn't. And then I saw the first quarter, and I says, "Oh, he's going to easily get 9," but he only ended up with 7, right?
Yeah.
I think he only got 7.
By the way, when was the last time that you saw a team shoot 68% in the fourth quarter of a finals game?
Ever, never.
It's never happened.
That's never.
You're pretty sure it's never happened?
Oh, well,
no, 75% on threes.
That's anecdotally what I'm speaking, but I've never seen it. No,
I've never seen it either.
I mean,
I can't even. First of all, and then you mix in the volume. I've definitely never seen it with this amount of volume. I mean,
Brother Ryan, I'm sorry for being mad at you earlier in the show. I apologize.
Seriously, why don't you guys kiss and make up?
Oh, we're gonna make out and make up.
Kumbaya.
Kevin F says, "When's the next show with Grant Napier?" Actually, Grant will be on tomorrow. He'll be on tomorrow morning.
What's he been saying?
Well, I mean, he's very critical. I don't know what he's going to say. You got to tune in tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. on the Krueg Show live stream.
That's called tease.
Yeah, tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
tomorrow morning we'll have him on.
Tease.
He's normally on a Monday, but he because of Memorial Day, we said, let's move it to Friday. And then I forgot. Then I looked down and said, oh, wait a second. Warriors play game 1 Thursday night. That's perfect. We'll get Napes to give us his breakdown on tomorrow morning.
Wow.
So yeah, should be interesting. He doesn't pull any punches. He doesn't pull any punches.
Yeah. The only thing that scared me after this game was it just had this eerie feeling. It reminded me of the 74 Warriors when they went in to play Washington and they were down by double digits every game.
74?
What's that?
I'm sorry.
70. Yes, they were playing the Washington. They were back then. They were the Washington Bullets. It was their
the Bullets came to the arena that night on a stagecoach. They were brought to the arena on a stagecoach.
74-75 season. Yeah, it was a 74 season. But the Warriors were down every game by double digits, and they came back and swept them.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Yeah, they're making a documentary about that team.
Are they? Oh, really? I got to see that. I love sports documentaries. Totes McGoat says, mute Cy and Ryan if they're going to fight again. I actually kind of liked it.
Good radio,
because Cy's happy most of the time, and I don't get to see him like angry Cy. I like angry Cy.
Warriors losing game 1.
I think angry Cy could be an award-winning show. I mean,
you know what?
I mean, Locked On would have twice the audience if Cy was just bitter and angry.
You know, when Larry, the other night when we took our bets for the game, said, you picked game 1 and Ryan and I picked the Warriors. You picked the Celtics. Right. You stepped away for something, and Ryan and I were saying, hey, after we win this game 1, we should just have some kind of a bet and
a collusion.
We'll bet the same, and that way we guarantee Larry loses. Now Larry's got us up 1-0, man.
Oh yeah, seriously. I mean, you guys were.
That's why it's called the Krueg Show and not the.
You guys were scheming. That's called scheming, behind the scenes scheming. And there's always cost for that.
But I feel good. I feel good because
Callahan,
Larry
very
picked
true, Kurt.
Game 1. Larry picked every game. He already said. Celtics game 1.
Wouldn't you guys agree with me right now? Wouldn't you agree with my assessment? Warriors are going to lose game 1. They lost game 1. I said the Warriors are going to win game 2. I'm very confident the Warriors are going to win game 2.
Very confident.
Would you guys say you're very confident in game 2?
I everything I ever thought I knew about basketball would just be
It's out the window after tonight.
Just search in the woods for.
So
I'm gonna put money
it's
on it.
very likely they win game 2. I think
I'm gonna put
Golden
money on
State.
it.
I think Golden State goes to Boston and takes game 3, and I think that's where this series. That's where the people of, the ESPN crowd and the Northeastern people, the people in the Northeast who really have that East Coast bias. I think that's where Steph, gets a lot of credit. He's going to roll in there in game 3 and put them up 2-1. Then I think Boston evens that series up, and then it's just a best of 3. And if you're the NBA, if you're Adam Silver, man, you're dreaming of that scenario. If you get to game 5 in a 2-2 series between an East Coast power and a West Coast power and a dynasty potentially on the West Coast, or is a dynasty on the West Coast and a burgeoning young team on the East Coast. I mean, it's a dream scenario. But ultimately, Golden State is deeper and better. And I think it's going to, tonight was not a little bit. Tonight was a large aberration. But I will say this, you'll see this again if you leave Horford and White open all second half. I thought to me, the most we've all had comments, and there's been a lot of interesting things said here. And Steve added quite a bit as well. To me, what I got the most out of this show so far was when Ryan showed all the 3-point attempts and the distance between the Warrior defenders and the Celtic shooters. That to me was powerful, because that was the game right there. You have to make them feel your defensive pressure. Yeah, we went around and basically showed all these threes. This is like wide open 3, wide open 3, wide open 3, wide open 3. You could park a car in there, Yeah. I'm not talking about one of those tiny little cars. You could park my Chevy Tahoe between those guys.
That's crazy.
That's too much room. They need to make Boston's perimeter shooters, whomever they are, feel a little bit of that pressure. Yeah, maybe Boston, that means playing Peyton. Maybe that means playing Peyton hurt.
I don't know. I'm going to say this. I don't know if we see Gary Payton II this series. I really don't. I not seeing him at all in game 1, especially in the garbage time minutes where you could have just thrown him out there to get some wind in him. And that concerns me. I think the Warriors might have to prepare for no Gary Payton II in this series. By the way, the Celtics made their first 7 3-pointers to start the fourth quarter. If they had missed just even one of those, it could have been a totally different game. Just even what, it was just too much. That's 21 points. Just boom, boom, boom. It just destroyed the Warriors. Yeah, the line is out for game 2.
Wait, don't say it. Don't say it. Let's guess. Okay. Let's guess.
4.5.
You're going to say Warriors by 4.5? So, I'm going to say Warriors by 5.5.
Coach.
What are you going with, Coach? Coach has probably already wagered on this.
I'm going to pull a Chardall. Warriors by 50.
So what did you say? What did you say, Ryan?
4.5.
4.5. I'm going 5.5. Sorry, what is
Coach,
it?
Coach,
I'm
what are you?
Say 3.5.
Oh, so Ryan and Coach tie. It's 4.
4. Wow.
I'm gonna bet on that.
It was, and tonight was 3.5, right? Golden State by 3.5.
Correct.
That's interesting.
I just emptied. I out of rage, I emptied my available balance, my entire available balance, all on the Warriors money line in game 2. So,
the money line. Okay. All right.
I'm
that's
too
smart.
scared of mine.
Andrew Cassidy says it's been -4 for hours.
Oh, so are we saying somebody's been cheating? Wait, this Andrew Cassidy guy also wanted to call in earlier. I think he said something about being at the game. I wouldn't mind hearing a perspective of how the crowd was, because I kind of
put it in the chat.
All right,
Mr. We've been going for 2 hours and 25 minutes, which is pretty lengthy amount of time. But we can, we could always blame this whole loss on Sandy Alcantara. Right.
He who the Warriors really could have
dominating
used tonight?
That was the Marlins starter against the Giants tonight.
How much have you guys talked about that whole fantasy football thing?
He's throwing 96-mile-an-hour changeups.
Is that a tired subject? Is that been beaten
what was
to death?
missing from the Warriors tonight?
Who's at the door?
Is this Mr. Cassidy?
This is Mr. Cassidy.
All right.
Andrew Cassidy, welcome to the Krueg Show. That's Cyrus. That's Ryan. That's Dan. I'm Larry. Good to see you. Good to talk to you.
For a while. Thanks for letting me hop on.
Well, give us your perspective. What'd you think? We've been breaking this thing down to death. Give us your perspective.
Yeah, me as well. So, well, first to start, I was at the game. Crowd in terms of other series that I've been to games was much better. Like, as you could see other games, it took probably the mid-first quarter for it to get packed. But I think, the crowd is definitely all aside. First thing I want to say is, in terms of Ryan making the point of open threes, I understand that, it is an anomaly in the fourth quarter for them to shoot, 85% from three. But all of those were wide open. And the question has to be asked there is Looney a liability on defense? Because Horford can shoot threes and Looney cannot. Mm-hmm. And if it wasn't Looney, then it was a switch or Draymond sitting in the middle of the paint. But like I said, it was all wide open threes in the corner, whether it was Pritchard, whether it was White, they weren't contested. So I thought that was definitely a point of emphasis, and it was the same thing. And I've watched another Celtics series, and you're sitting there, and it's like you're praying for a three not to go in, versus like you're contesting a three, and that was, I thought, a huge factor. The other thing I thought, and what a lot of people have been talking about, is I thought Clay was kind of a no-show tonight, and in other series, what Clay always did was Clay was our best defender. So like when we played the Raptors, we'd throw Clay on Kawhi, and then you make the excuse that, okay, he's super tired on defense, but now we have Wiggins for that. So that's why I don't really give Clay that much, I don't understand why he wasn't more aggressive on offense. And I do agree with you, like throwing Moody, throwing other people. I thought Otto played a great game.
Yes.
But I thought we had to throw more bodies at them. But I do think the big question for me is, number one, is Looney potentially a liability? I understand he gets the offensive rebounds, but we can't switch on that. They have 5 3-point shooters, and that stood out to me a lot because those threes were wide open.
Four. Just to clear up 4. Robert Williams III is not a 3.
Sorry, you muted yourself by accident there. You muted yourself. I don't know. You hit something on your mic, I think.
It looks like he has really good commentary, though. I think
what you're saying right now is genius, I bet, but we're not hearing it.
It's something to do with.
There we go.
Okay.
I don't know what. My point was. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there. It's 4 3-point shooters. Robert Williams III, when he's out there, is not a 3-point shooter. He's made 1 3-point attempt the entire season. But I just wanted to correct you on that, because when Robert Williams III is out there, that is the one guy you can hide Looney on. But you're right. Continue on. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, do you agree? Do you agree with his point that you would sit Looney?
I don't think you have to sit him when Robert Williams III is out there, but I think that's a smart assessment that if Williams III is not playing, I don't think it's worth playing Looney either. I don't know, man. Looney's a tough one. That's the one. Where
so who do you put out there? Do you put Bielisa out there then, or Porter?
Bielisa's a defensive liability. My goodness,
kind of.
But he kind of. But he might be able to guard Horford.
I mean, if Horford's just going to stand out there, could we put an Iguodala on him or something? I'm looking at these pictures now. I'm not sharing the screen, but Rob Williams was out there for one of the threes, but the rest of it was Tatum. It was Tatum, Brown, White, Horford, and Pritchard for one of them, and then Smart for another. So it was 5. They were going small. Horford poses problems with the 3 ball. He just does.
Yes, he does.
But it's interesting because we got, we all kind of fell so in love with the Looney storyline that maybe we were a little quick to leave him in.
It's all about matchups. It's series by series. It really is. He wasn't that wonderful in the first round series against Denver.
Horrible. He was horrible in that series.
Yeah, because of joking. So it's about matchups.
We have seen Golden State in this spot before. Somebody in the tweet and the chat, I should say, brought up the fact that they got run in game 1 by Memphis and they bounced back.
They barely won that game. You're right. They won that game, but it was they won by a point. I forgot. Was it?
Was they running game 2? Who was
They
it?
lost
Was,
game 2.
yeah,
That
I
was
think
the
they were in
game
game
Peyton
2.
got
I think they
hurt.
were in game
It's
2.
on the road also. So
It was a road win, and Clay missed those 2 free throws at the end, which was really abnormal. Yet they still pulled off the victory. But it's the Horford thing's weird. I wouldn't mind seeing Bielitsa if Horford is their center and not Robert Williams III. I think Bielitsa defensively can handle Horford.
What a pickup, by the way. They picked up Horford late, right?
They traded for him.
They traded for him. Yeah, I mean, my goodness, what a great addition that was.
Yeah,
you know,
Huge,
it's.
huge.
I know this is controversial, and I trust Bob Myers and what they did.
Here we go.
But for a championship, I love JTA.
I'm getting ready to mute.
But I really thought, I knew he wasn't going to be in the rotation in the playoffs. I just knew he wasn't going to see hardly any minutes, and I just thought it would be nice to have a rim protector, because if you had a rim protector down there tonight, those guys wouldn't have had to sag and leave all those guys.
Are you advocating JTA
open.
play?
What's that?
Are you advocating JTA?
No, I was advocating that if they put somebody on the roster that was available, a big 7-footer that could block shots, could give you value 10 minutes a game in a playoff because of matchups.
So you're blaming Myers for not getting the big man.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that I just thought.
What are you saying?
I'm saying it.
Let's bring this ship to shore.
The Warriors.
He's saying that James Wiseman should have a baby, is what he's saying.
Hey, if Wiseman was down there tonight, I mean, it would be.
What are you saying, Danny? Just say it. Spit it out.
I just don't think JTA is a roster spot worth. He's
saying
a roster spot up that.
You should cut JTA.
I'd hate to see him go because I love JTA, but when
yeah,
you're trying to win a championship, he's not going to be in any games. He hasn't played at all hardly in the playoffs, and it's just like they had a chance.
You got like Robin Lopez or something like on the.
Well, there was even like a Greg Olson.
Odin?
The guy. No,
Greg
Odin,
Olson,
not the guy that used to play for the Bucks. I can't remember his name.
Brook Lopez.
No, is a 7-foot guy.
Bob Lanier.
Greg Monroe.
Monroe, maybe he was available. I don't know these guys are any good anymore. I'm just saying, when you don't have a threat down there, a rim protector, guys that like Jaylen Brown, when he drives, you have to have 3 guys clogged to stop him, and it just opens up the 3-point shot for everybody. True. That's why they were wide open tonight, because Brown kept driving to the hoop, or if Tatum got loose, he would be able to just kick it out to somebody, because they have to sag. They have to compensate for no rim protector. Because, I mean, if you have a rim protector, you don't have to – you can let that guy go and guard your guy, and then you don't have these Larry being able to drive his Tahoe through there and have this guy wide open. How many? Look at those pictures again. All
right, we have to mute Danny. He just advocated for Greg Monroe. All right. Ha says Monroe's dog. You know what?
There were some players out there like
I didn't want to do that to Dan because he's a good Giants fan. He's a good Warrior fan. He's representing the Giants black and orange. He's got the Warrior blue down here. But I felt almost the need when he advocated of picking up Greg Monroe on the 2nd of June. That's when I don't know. I had to mute. I mean, I thought there was a very good chance that Danny was going to work Joey Bart into that last comment. I just thought there was a chance we were going to hear something about Joey Bart. All right, Danny, we're gonna bring you back. We're gonna bring you back just because we like you and you're you're.
I meant somebody like that. I couldn't think of a name, but I know there was about 10 7-foot guys that were available either in the G League that were unrestricted free agents, or guys that were in other leagues that were available. I'm not saying that they had to do that. Maybe I just thought it would be wise to have somebody.
JaVale McGee.
They should have signed JaVale McGee in the offseason. They definitely should have done that instead of letting Phoenix get him.
Andre Drummond.
Drummond was already with somebody.
Yeah, did this man just say Greg Monroe?
I just threw his name out there because I knew he was.
How about Boogie Cousins? Where's Boogie Cousins when you need him?
Boogie would have been. I would have liked him, and he knows the system. I think there's there's something there between Kerr and Cousins, because I asked Kerr about that, and Kerr was like, ask the front office. I don't make personnel decisions.
This man just say Greg Monroe.
Someone says Miles Turner.
He wasn't available.
He's been in trade rumors for 12 years.
Plus, he was hurt. Wasn't he hurt at the trade deadline?
Yeah,
he's got an ego. Like, he wants the ball, and like, what, you know, like, what are you gonna give up for him? You're not getting him for free.
GTC Real says we're getting Rudy Gobert because Joe Lacob got that big D energy watch.
Honestly, I would love me some Gobert. I don't care. I like making fun of him as well. He's kind of a dorky guy, but like on this team that's got a good culture, give me Gobert.
Wait a second. There's a movement afoot for Moses Moody. Moody led the team to beat the Spurs with literally nobody playing on the team. Play the young guys. There's a movement afoot.
This comment's hilarious because I actually was gonna say that, and then I was like, no, probably no one's gonna get that.
All the youngsters played in that game.
Omar Sam, man. But the St. Mary's kid.
Oh, I guess we lost him.
Oh, we lost him. Well,
hey, I think next year I do think McGee is a free agent.
Correct.
And they should look at him because he can give you a whole different offense perspective.
Oh, he can finish at the rim. You got to defend the rim. I mean, that's what they miss. That's what they miss with James Wiseman, is that they don't have the guy that makes you, defend the lob. If you imagine how good Golden State would be if you had to defend the lob. They don't have that right now. Who's at the door?
Oh, I think it's our same guy.
Yeah, sorry I dropped off. I just had one more.
Go ahead.
I honestly thought, we were up 12-13 at the end of the third. This has been a problem for us all year. Everyone says third quarter Warriors. We come in, Steph hits a couple threes, yada, yada.
They don't finish. They haven't finished all year.
And we come out flat, and then everyone's sitting there, and it's like, when are we going to put Steph in?
Yeah.
And it comes to 9 minutes, 8 minutes, 7 minutes, and then they go on a run. And then also I was looking there like, Kurt, when are you going to call a timeout?
Yeah.
And then you saw they went on a 17-0 run. And it's just frustrating because then we sit there, we do this, I don't know what offense we're doing, and someone trucks up 4 random threes in a row. They go on a run, and then we call late timeout, and that's where the huge difference in the game was. And then they bring in Steph, and then they're double teaming Steph, and no one's in a rhythm. Then we go flat. So I just think I hate the curse slander, but tonight throwing in Steph that late, we're in a finals game.
You're right. And
where do you think what minute mark would you like to see Steph return in the fourth quarter?
10.
I would say around 10 minutes. I don't know.
10.
And not 6, not at the 6 minute mark.
Not in the finals. I mean, in the finals, it's time for him to. He can handle the 40 minutes, I think. But just to add to the caller, I don't know your name. I'm sorry. I thought Wiggins should have come in much sooner too. For some reason, Wiggins and Steph were sitting at that scoring table for like 2 or 3 minutes, waiting to come in while this run is going on, and that is where the Kerr timeout could have been used. I know they were low on timeouts. I don't know where they burned them. I wasn't keeping track of that. They were low on timeouts to begin with. So Kerr was trying to save them, but Kerr also has that Phil Jackson, Greg Popovich mentality of just letting it ride during swings, where most coaches do pull the trigger and call a timeout fast. And tonight that backfired. But I don't think it backfired because of the momentum aspect. It backfired because you had 2 star players who wanted to come in the game, and they couldn't because play wasn't stopping. So I'm with you, man.
Did you guys want to see a timeout in the midst of that 17-0 run? Where in that 17-0 run would you have called the timeout, Andrew?
8 or 9. Oh,
I would
go ahead.
say around 10:30, and for me, I think that's been a pretty consistent theme throughout Curry the last 6 years.
You know what I would call it? At the 10:01 mark, when Jaylen Brown made a 3-pointer to cut the lead to 7.
Yeah, Cy, I was just looking. Sorry, Andrew. I was just looking at the play-by-play, and like, so we were up 12. So like, not to be a total point shitter, and because I totally agree with you as far as Curry going in the beginning of the fourth, but it really wasn't that bad on Kerr, just because. So I mean, there's 12 minutes in a quarter. Jaylen Brown makes a jumper with 11:09 to go. Then Jaylen Brown makes a three with 10 minutes to go. Then Robert Williams makes the alley-oop dunk at 9:35. Pritchard, and then he puts Curry in the game at 9:35. Yeah. I actually didn't realize he put him in that early.
He did put him fairly early.
That's why. But Iguodala stayed in the game. I think Iguodala was in there too long, because Iguodala stayed in the game until the 6-minute mark, and that's when Wiggins took over. I thought Wiggins should have come in sooner. I mean, look, ultimately, I don't think he could have done anything. I mean, when Horford,
I think he forced Iguodala into his rotation when maybe he should have just kind of,
like eased him in more.
Curious. Yeah, maybe eased him in more as the series kind of got rolling a little bit. I don't know. It was like he had that. I don't want to say that's the Gabe Kapler 3:00 in the afternoon decision, but it felt like it. Didn't it? Didn't it feel like that decision was made probably days ago or something?
Yeah,
to get Iguodala in there. It felt a little forced. I mean, he played all right. I thought he played better than I was thinking he was going to play on both ends of the floor.
I think he's okay. I don't have a problem with Iguodala. I think what Cy and I were saying earlier is him and Green in there at the same time on offense, it just clogs everything up, because now Boston can just play off of them.
Yes.
And then, double team Steph and Clay and just let those guys shoot. And I think that's where you have to alternate Iguodala and Green, not give them too many minutes together, if any at all.
Also, here's a huge spin zone just for me as like a guy who, I mean, we've all been through it with the dynasty. I always weirdly get a little bit stressed out. Maybe it's 2016 PTSD, but I get a little stressed out when we go up 2-0 at the beginning. Like, even if it's at home, we go up 2-0. Because then all of a sudden, all the pundits are like, well, this series is over. What is that team going to win 4 out of the next 5? No way. And I always am just like, oh my God, there's so much reverse jinxing going on. And I just know, everybody's written them off. There's a nobody believes in us team on the other side. And then once, they win a couple games, all of a sudden the pressure's on us. So guess what? We can put the pressure on Boston now.
Ryan, you have the choice to win and be 1-1 or be 2-0. Which would you rather be?
Ooh. That's the question.
With those tough questions.
See, the thing is, I was expecting there was no.
I'll always take 2-0 100% of the time.
I'd rather be 0-2. I like the challenge.
Yeah, I'll take 1-1.
Ty Levi says, Cyrus, make me feel better. You've been calling it all playoffs, but is this it?
Yes,
no.
You have been Nostradamus.
No, I'm not Nostradamus, first of all, but
Ty Levi says Dubs might head to Boston down 0-2. Come on, Ty Levi.
I don't care.
Look, if that happens, if the Warriors lose game 2, I'm kind of putting pressure on the panic button a little bit, but I'm not pressing it. I still think I'm confident that the Warriors are still winning the NBA Finals. This game, I'm going to echo Draymond Green's sentiments. Like, they had this game under control before Al Horford and Derek White turned into the 2 greatest shooters in the history of this game. And I don't think that's something that can be replicated for 3 more times in this series. And I'm confident the Warriors are going to win. They have a brilliant coaching staff who's going to make the necessary adjustments. It's one thing that's very important to note here is that the Warriors and the Celtics, for that matter, too, they're not familiar with each other. Like, they play each other 2 times a year. They don't have time to game plan. So when it comes down to a series like this, like, a lot of it is feeling out, and the Warriors have felt them out. And so now they're going to make the adjustments. I know someone here said the Celtics will make adjustments too, but the Celtics just are not going to have that urgency either. I think they're going to be comfortable enough leaving this San Francisco with a split. I'm very confident the Warriors will win game 2. I just do not see the mistakes made tonight being replicated, whether it's adjustments with personnel, whether it's individuals, adding a sense of urgency. I mean, the Warriors did come into the series feeling very confident, and they were acting the part. So maybe they needed this wake-up call, because I didn't see the urgency in the fourth quarter. I did not see it.
Ty Levi says GP2 for Iggy.
If he's healthy, we don't know if he's healthy. That's a problem.
Yeah, we just
wait. What is that comment you put up about them being 8-3?
Oh, they're 8-3 in their last 11. I think is what the.
Why? Oh, I wonder why he stopped at 11 in an 11-game sample size.
Well, Boston's 8-2 on the road. They're 8-2 on the road in the playoffs. So you know what? They're feeling good. It is kind of a weird situation, though, isn't it? Because Boston is, their fans are incredibly loud. When you're watching playoff games there, it seems hostile, and yet teams routinely have gone in there and slapped them around.
Yes,
and yet they're 8-2 on the road. So who knows? Who knows how this series is going to go? I think Golden State bounces back. I think it's a long series, but now Game 2 has got to have it mode. You can't lose Game 2. You can't lose Game 2. I think you're going to win.
And I really think too on Andrew. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
Andrew, go ahead. What do you got?
On the Boston crowd thing. When I watched Celtics game there, it felt like 2016 at Oracle, right? Every single time they're driving up, the whole entire crowd stands up. It's almost like too much nervous pressure. And that's what you get at the Garden, right? And it gets so rowdy. And I feel like Tatum and Brown haven't seen that much pressure in the playoffs, especially now in the finals. And I feel like that's why they've been exposed on the road. Versus tonight in Chase Center, they seemed calm shooting those threes. Yes, Tatum didn't have the best night, but the thing that helped the Celtics so much tonight was they stayed consistent on running the offense through Tatum.
Yeah, and that's true.
Like he kind of went back a little bit where if we run the offense through Steph, Wiggins and Clay are going to get open. But when we run it through Dre, he gets in that weird position on like the free throw line, and he's just kind of sitting there looking for people to move. But if we run the ball through Steph, people are going to get open. And I feel like we consistently run it through Draymond too much where people are just running around the three-point line. And like you guys said earlier, yeah, Tatum had a really bad shooting night, but he had 13 assists because they ran the offense through him and everyone was open, and we were not able to adjust to that.
He's their point guard, basically, yeah. And look, Andrew Wiggins needs to look at tape of Jimmy Butler because they're very similar in build. They're very there's similarities there with playing style. And Jimmy Butler was attacking that defense and getting to the rim anytime he wanted. And I think that level of aggressiveness is needed from Andrew Wiggins in game 2. I did not see aggressiveness from him. That he was forcing a lot of outside shots. I didn't we didn't see one dunk. So I think that's another thing that they're going to look at in the film, and I'm confident adjustments will be made. This is a very smart organization.
I agree. That's what I said earlier. I wanted to see, instead of Iguodala sitting there at the top of the 3-point line, if Wiggins is in there, Wiggins can drive and open thing, either take it all the way to the rack or pass it out to an open 3-point shooter, Clay or Steph, because they're going to be open if they're collapsing on the rim. But I'm just glad that we don't have to face Red Auerbach going back to Boston, because he might set the smoke alarms off in the hotel that the Warriors
light up the victory cigar. Hey Andrew, you got one last one on your way out the door?
Yeah.
Go for it.
I guess one last. I think GP3 is not available. I think that's a huge game of chess and checkers there. I don't think he's available at all. I mean, on today, he was literally sitting with an ice pack on his elbow the whole time.
Was he really?
That's great insight.
Did you see him in warm-ups at all shooting?
He was available. Yeah, he was had a huge ice pack around his elbow. If he wasn't available, they would have threw him.
Was he shooting at all in warm-ups? Did you happen to be looking for that, like the Zapruder film?
Pretty much nothing. If he actually, he was only shooting with his right.
Oh, really?
So,
wow. That's
a pretty clear indication.
Yeah, that goes with what I saw yesterday on the live show, the NBA Media Day. He wasn't moving his left arm. He kept talking with his right.
Well, he had a brace on it, up until 3-4 days ago. It seemed like we just saw him that long ago. He had a brace on. Hey, Andrew, we'll let you go, brother. Thanks for chiming in.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, call back.
Give us a call back. We'd love to have you back on.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew.
Later.
Andrew Cassidy joining us from the chat. All right, guys, we've been chatting this thing up. We're almost at 3 hours. Let's do this. Let's pay the bills, and we'll come back with some final thoughts. If you want to go outside, have a smoke, do whatever you got to do. We'll be back in a couple minutes on the Krueg Show. More straight ahead, and you're not going to want to miss this, because not only are we going to run the Dan Coccimiglio spot, not only are we going to run the telemetrics.co spot, not only are we going to run the New York style sausage ad, but we also have a brand new New York style Italian sausage video that you're going to have to see. But first, a word from our sponsors. Larry Krueger here for Telmetrics. Thanks to Casey Bateman and the good people at Telmetrics. If you're an occupational therapist, if you're an orthopedic surgeon, a chiropractor, a physical therapist of any kind, Telmetrics is designed for you to use in your practice and will greatly benefit your patients. Telmetrics uses computer vision and artificial intelligence and provides a platform for outpatient rehab therapy services, both in the clinical and the telehealth environments. So using Telmetrics can improve your patient's experience and much more. So for all your sports injury needs, or if you're a physical rehabilitation specialist of any kind, make sure you use telmetrics.co, Telmetrix.co. And thanks to Casey Bateman and all the good people at Telmetrics for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Dan Coccimiglio. Dan is a buddy, and he is a phenomenal retirement planning specialist. And you can contact him today at securemoney.com or at his number, 925-628-9966. There's a lot of uncertainty in our world right now, and you want to make sure that your money is secure. That is the key. Danny's got 25 years of experience, born and raised right here in the Bay Area, and he can help you get an immediate 10% premium bonus on your principal retirement account. So give him a call, 925-628-9966. He'll make an appointment with you, and you can sit down. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of a deal. He'll consult with you and come up with a strategy to get you going to where you want to be. Once again, 925-628-9966, securemoney.com on the web. And thanks to Dan Coccimiglio and all the people at Secure Money for being proud sponsors of the Krueg Show. All right, my 12-year-old says, Dad, at the YouTube channel, it's kind of cool, but you're nothing unless you got merch. So we got merch. How about this? And thanks to Tony Cassera and the good people at Cassera's Italian Menswear. They are housing the Krueg Show t-shirts, and they're a proud sponsor of the show as well. The Krueg Show t-shirt, the Krueg Show podcast t-shirt is available there at their store in Dublin. Their address is 7372 San Ramon Road in Dublin, California. And go see Tony Cassera and get yourself a Krueg Show t-shirt and support the show. And special thanks to our sponsor, New York Style Italian Sausage. That's right, NewYorkStyleSausage.com is their website. Phenomenal product, whether it's the breakfast sausage, the Italian mild, the Italian spicy, the chorizo. You cannot go wrong with New York Style Italian Sausage. Once again, NewYorkStyleSausage.com, often imitated, never equaled. And they are a proud sponsor of the Krueg Show. Thanks to them as well. All right, welcome back to the Krueg Show. We have a brand new video here. Just it's just I think it's only 30 seconds or so, but this is the first time I've ever seen it. This is the New York Style Italian Sausage homemade video. First time. This is the world premiere of the New York Style Sausage video.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner. That means no matter how busy you were, no matter where the hell you were, you came to dinner on a Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday dinner without sausage, it's like a church without God. How can you go to church if you don't believe in God? And along with the sausage also became the discussions. That was discussion night. It wasn't a typical family that you sit there and you're quiet, and you don't talk with a mouthful. Oh no, man. Italians talk when they're eating. Italians even talk when they're sleeping. And definitely we talk with our hands. So if we can't express it through our mouth, through our lips, we express it with our hands. So, and that's what sausage is, really. It's an expression, that life is good.
All All right.
Yeah.
All right. That was Luigi for the New York style Italian sausage.
Man, I'm going there when I'll be up there in a week or so. I'm coming up. I'm going to New York style sausage, man.
That's right. New York style Italian sausage.
I'm inspired now, man.
Gilbert, was this guy on Goodfellas? No.
Hey, Larry, there's a theme you got going here. You got.
Oh my Lord, there's a joke here, but I'm not going to mess with Larry's money. GTC Reels. That is awesome. Celts Chronicles. Express your sausage. Oh man.
I wonder if there's a New York style. Wait. What is it? Italian style New York. I wonder if there's
New York style Italian sausage.
I wonder if there's an Italian style New York sausage.
You got,
dare to dream, and if
Ned
so, they're going to be hit with a lawsuit.
You got the Colettis, you got the Caceres, you
Tony
got the Coccimiglios,
Dan Coccimiglio,
and you got there was one other one,
Ryan Smithini.
Oh, our sausage guy. What's his last name?
Cyrus Saatsaz.
Siren sausages.
What was his last name again? The New York style sausage.
That's Luigi.
Yeah, so you got this is being dominated the mafia here.
That's right.
I think the Warriors are. I think we're good.
Yeah, something tells me the Warriors bounce back in game 2.
Especially Larry's already in on it because he picked Boston for game 1.
Something happened.
Larry has Boston game 1 because he says, "Well, I think it's it's probably not about the 3-point shot.
I like the Celtics in game 1. All right,
I like Celtics in game 1 because if the Warriors win game 1, it loses some interest, and now that there's some interest,
exactly.
Now we know why Larry's surrounded by all these Italians. He knows what's going on. He had inside information tonight.
That's right. I'm half Italian. All right. Give me your final thoughts on this one. This was let's be honest here. We kind of, in this live stream, we turned on each other. We fought. There was some bickering. It wasn't smooth. There was times I felt like Dan and I needed to get between Cyrus and Ryan.
And then I got muted.
You got muted, and you'll get muted again, especially if you kick your animal. I'm not for any kind of animal.
Wait, Coach.
No. You go back and look at the replay of that.
He tried to.
Touch her.
Buster got away. I mean, Sosha got away from him.
There, you're bringing guests on the program who abuse the animals. What's going on?
Yeah, no, seriously, that ain't right. Where is Buster? Can we see? Can you call Buster?
Buster,
the show wouldn't be complete unless we get Buster on camera. Now, is that a great looking dog or what?
Yes, it is, man. That's
I feel like I ignore your other dog. What's your other dog's name?
That's Faith. Hey, Faith,
Ramon
how
Martinez,
you doing?
Steve Sachs. Who's your other dog?
Faith. Yeah.
Faith. Yeah. Buster's a great looking dog though. Buster and Faith is a golden retriever or just a lab.
No, she's a lab too. I adopted her. She already had a name. I would have probably come up with a different name,
Yeah, but see, the white lab is that might be the best looking dog there is.
Yeah, dog right there.
There's accusations being made by Celts.
Krueg got Celtics green on Dodger. Dan got the blue. What's really going on here? Exactly. Go with the Celtics in game 1 now.
I noticed that. I was going to mention that shirt.
It's a laundry day.
I'll tell you what. Game on Sunday. Now that I'm getting
GTC Reels, damn traitors.
Now that I'm getting, how do you guys feel about wearing first of all, wearing another man's jersey at this point in your life, and then secondly, because I feel like I'm at the cutoff. I'm 26, but then also like wearing them shirt like sleeveless is like maybe a little aggressive. So I was like, maybe that's aggressive for the live stream. I think I did that on our last Dallas game. It's maybe a little aggressive, but I think I might.
You didn't go pits though. You didn't go pits. I mean, it wasn't like we got armpits. That's where I draw the line.
Clip those arms. Remember Klay Thompson had like the biggest bushy armpit hairs, and he finally wisened up and got the clippers.
Did he trim that bad boy? I'm not sure if that's disgusting. I'm not sure if that's appropriate to be trimming the hair. Carlo pieces. Rye, go sleeveless.
Hurt.
Kevin F says player t-shirts are the way to go. The jerseys.
Max
there
jersey.
You go.
I got a bunch of jerseys for the kids. All right, it was an emotional night. I mean, Celtics got game one. And not only did they get game one, they got game one in the cruelest of fashions. Golden State had a 12-point lead. This game was literally 3 or 4 minutes away from garbage time. And suddenly it was an eruption. And there was like nobody could stop the bleeding. And I don't like to blame Kerr because it's the NBA and the NBA is the ultimate players league. But I want to see a timeout somewhere between 0 and 17-0. You know what I mean? I mean, I would have liked to have seen some timeout there. Maybe 6-0, 8-0, 10-0, 12-0.
That's great. We looked back and he did. I just don't think there's anything you could. There's just when a team shoots like that, there's just nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do.
You know what? It was destined to be this way. I thought the Celtics were going to get one of these first two. I just thought it was going to be the second one because the Celtics haven't won a game one this entire playoffs. But
yeah, I'll gladly admit this, man. I was wrong because I thought the Warriors would stay undefeated this series at home, and now they're going to have to win at the Garden, and I don't like that idea. But that's what they're going to have to do. And look, they've won 26 straight series in the playoffs.
Who did the anthem today? Who did the anthem today?
Was that Joe Satriani? I don't know who that was,
Journey.
actually.
Somebody from Journey.
It was from Journey. All right. Is Santana doing the national anthem game too? Because Gilbert says Warriors are undefeated when Santana does the national anthem.
If that's true, he better do it every game.
Seriously. I don't care. I don't care who's good. I don't care. If you get a perfect record with anybody doing the national anthem, bust them out. Right? I don't care if it's Huey Lewis in the news. Bust them out.
Are they flying in Gabe?
Do what you gotta do.
Is Gabe going to do the national anthem? Oh, that's a bad joke.
Oh, look at that.
What's the punchline? I don't get it.
Dan went political here at 3 hours and 2 minutes.
What's the politics in that?
Gabe's not happy with the direction of the country. Remember that?
Oh, yeah, I hear what you're saying.
So he's going to make a stand except for Memorial Day.
Amendment right. I respect it.
Anyway, I've been pretty bummed. You know, I was watching that game and it's like the air was let out so fast. It was just so quick. When they went down to when it was 106, 103, I felt okay, we still got time, we can do it. But when they hit that second one, it made it 109, 103. I was like, I don't think they're going to win this game.
It was over. That was the moment. You're absolutely right,
This is the text that really is disturbing. Matthew Mears says, Manscaped sucks. That hella cut my balls and made them bleed.
Oh, Jesus.
All right. That's how
a bleeder. I've had a bleeder.
We got a bleeder.
It's not fun. It's not fun.
Oh, my goodness.
Seriously,
just go with the hair at that point. You'd rather go with the hair.
And the skin there is so different. It's just
how did we get here? Was this from Klay Thompson? Is this or how did we get here?
Haruku Atoki says Dodger Dan with the low blow. Oh yeah, Dodger Dan.
Just trying to lighten it up a little bit.
All right. That's enough. Totes Magoats, great show as always. Good night, y'all. Way to go. We're dropping a y'all. Y'all think the Warriors are going to bounce back, y'all? All right. We're over 3 hours here. So we've already why don't we do this? We'll go around the room one more time. Everybody give one last thought, and then we will play the outro music and go twist one up. No, I mean go have the rest of the good night.
Whoa, look at you, Larry, with a Freudian slip there. We'll
wrap this up.
Bud. 11:47 at night. That's when it comes out, huh? I love it.
Yeah, exactly. GTC Real says, "Good night, y'all. This talk was great."
Stop with the y'all, man.
And then Carlo P. How about those Giants? Will they get 3 hits tonight? There's
3 hits.
There's more people in this live stream than the Giants had hits against the Marlins tonight. Ooh. All right, go ahead. Why don't we start with you, Danny? Give us your final thought on the night. Giants lost. We didn't really talk about it, but that's probably a good thing. Warriors lost. As I said, it was a very, very cruel fashion. Final thought before we send it into the evening.
Yeah. Well, June 2nd, 2022 was not my day. It was just not a good day all around. Had to be a good day for somebody else, I'm assuming. But I had a 3-team parlay. All 3 teams I picked lost.
That's not that bad. I mean, it could have been 2 win and 1 loss.
Hey,
No,
if you're
they
going to
all
lose a
lost.
parlay, if you're going to lose a parlay, that's the best way to lose it,
Well,
right?
yeah, but it was like I couldn't get one of them right. I picked Cincinnati, Washington. I said there'll be no runs in the first inning. Top half of the first, no runs. Bottom first, Joey Votto hits a 3-run homer. So I lost that one. The Giants lost 3-0. And obviously the Warriors. So it was an 0 for day for me. So, dang. And I bet the Dodgers in that parlay. I took the Mets. So I took the Mets and the Dodgers won. So it was just a bad night all around. So anyway,
Joey Bart though.
But Joey Bart, I should have took your advice and bet the hit.
I bet under, and I'm butthurt.
You bet under.
He had a hit in the first freaking inning of a game where the Giants.
Oh, you bet he wouldn't get a hit, and he got a hit. He has ownage on
me
Alcantara, 2 for 2 with 2 walks. So Joey Bart, that's the only guy who's been able to kind of do something with.
Yeah, him and Pujols.
But hey, it's sun comes up tomorrow, right?
Coach, you're running a business on investments. Don't divulge on the parlay. Saying less is more. That's GTC Reels.
I'm just saying it was a bad day all around for my sports today. So I just think this is going to be a long series. It's going to be entertaining, and I trust in the Warriors management and the players, and I think experience will come out and eventually will prevail, and the Warriors will win it Game 7 in Chase Center. That's my pick. I'd like to see him like to see him do it in the Garden in Game 6. I'd like to. I hope Larry's script is right. Of course it is. He's got the inside information.
Luigi said Warriors in 6.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Rye. You got your final thought after, we're 3 hours and 7 minutes into this live stream.
Final thought, hope Steph's ankle's okay. Think it will be. He's been through it so many times. I mean, he had it happen in the last game of the Mavs series, and he looked great tonight. And that's the final thing I want to end on is it is not even close. You can talk about Luka Doncic and Curry, and, Doncic is in his neighborhood. There's nobody on the Celtics that's in the stratosphere of Steph Curry. And if he keeps playing like this, you know what? At some point, it's going to demoralize that team. And you know what? Here's the other thing is we talk about experience. Game 1, you know what? They showed out. They proved that they are a great team. And honestly, they've got veteran guys that aren't afraid. They showed in that Miami series, it is a whole different ball game when it comes to closeout games. So I really don't even care if we get down. I mean, obviously, I don't want to get down 3-1. But if we're down 3-1, I think we still have a puncher's chance. I think that is where our experience is going to show, not necessarily in these early games in the series. I think it's going to be in the closeout games. And I'll end at that.
All right, Cy, give me your final thought.
If you're a member of Dub Nation, don't hit the panic button. As Klay Thompson said, it's the first 4 wins, not 1. And this was just such a freakish fourth quarter for the Boston Celtics. I want to finish off some stats for you. So Al Horford, first of all, set a career high for 3-pointers in a game. All right. So he's never made that many threes in his life until tonight. The Boston Celtics effective field goal percentage is a combination of field goals made and 3-pointers made, was 88.6%, which is absolutely staggering. It basically says that the team was just not missing that entire quarter. Again, career high for threes for Al Horford. He's not going to do that again. So don't panic too much on that. And the Warriors, sadly enough in this game, had never blown a game like that this season. It was the first home loss of the postseason. The Celtics are now 8-2 on the road in these playoffs. So don't be too alarmed by the home loss. And I'm incredibly confident they're going to win a game 2. So let's just hope Gary Payton II comes back. I think that's really what the most important thing is here, because if he's not going to come back, they have to plan for a series without him. And that sounds much more difficult. And if he comes back, I'm much more optimistic. So I'm curious to see what happens there, but pumped up for game 2, and I'll see you gentlemen Sunday night.
I'll throw one last in the chat. Kelch Chronicle says this looks to be an all-time great series. Buckle up. I think that's well said. I also will say that I think Marcus Smart shooting threes and making threes, aberration. Yep. I think Al Horford shooting the 3 ball that well, little bit of an aberration. But Derek White shooting the 3 ball is not an aberration. And if you don't close out on him, he's going to make more. So he's in an incredible rhythm. He's feeling great off coming out of his hand, and they have to figure out a way to disrupt his rhythm. Body up on him. He's not that physical. Make him feel your defensive pressure. Make him know you're there. Right now, he's shooting it like he's in a empty gym, and it's going down. And it's, if he continues to shoot it like this, they can overachieve. If they overachieve, they can win the series. So I would say make Derek White feel your defensive pressure. And as far as us, tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., Grant Napier stops by. We'll get his feedback on this thing. And I'm eager to see what he has to, eager to hear what he has to say about it. Thanks to Dan. Thanks to Ryan. Thanks to Cyrus. Thanks to all of you in the chat. Hit the like and subscribe button. Thanks for supporting the YouTube channel. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you won't get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need to have